Oh, by the way, am I lagging at all? Are we all sounding good?
I think you're good now.
Me. Okay. All right. We are live. Everyone, welcome back to Nostalgianomics. Today we have the Pokeflipz podcast invading the channel. We got Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles and Old School Pokemon. I'm sure most everyone knows who these guys are, but for anyone who does just watch my channel and doesn't know who these guys are, I'm going to let them both give a quick introduction. They've both been in the hobby as long or longer than me. Both probably I know they both have a lot more invested or in their inventory than I do. So lots to learn from both these guys. Whichever one of you guys wants to go first, go with the intro.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you, Nick.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick, Old School Pokemon. I originally got back into Pokemon in 2009, very, very casually buying and selling, and then did it pretty much all through high school into college. Got out of it when I was in college, and then once I graduated from college in 2015, I pretty much got right back into buying and selling stuff. And have been doing eBay more and more seriously since then, like 2016ish, and have just been kind of grinding away, selling my 99-cent singles. That's kind of what I'm known for, I guess, is those bulkier type cards that nobody else wants to deal with. So yeah, just been growing that over the past 5-6 years. Went full time with eBay in November 2020 and have been absolutely loving it ever since.
Nice.
Beat that, Dan.
Yeah. My name is Dan. I have a YouTube channel where I post over at Catch 'em All Collectibles. The guy below me, we share the podcast, Pokeflipz, but apparently he's retired from his own channel. So Old School Pokemon, there's a long dormant YouTube account over there. But yeah, I've been back into the hobby since 2014. And when I first came in, it was like, Collector Dan, I've got $5,000. Let me see how far I can take it. Very quickly, I learned that the furthest I could take it was by buying big lots, breaking them down, and selling what I didn't want. So I might buy like $1,000 collection to keep one $100 card that I wanted, sell off the rest. And then I learned very early on that I could buy and make a lot of money doing it. So I did it on the side for several years, a little bit later than Nick. But I saw Nick go full-time. I saw James go full-time, Z&G Emporium. I saw a handful of close friends go full time, and I'm like, let me go for it. So in July of 2021, I took the leap. So coming up on 2 years, I will have been full time, which is crazy to think. But yeah, I do a little bit of grading and selling graded cards. I do ultra modern sealed. I do vintage box breaks. I do a little bit of everything.
Awesome. I mean, I think that those intros lead me into the first kind of like topic is what I think a lot of people wonder in their minds, ask themselves, ask others, we'll probably asked all of us at some point, is what it takes to go full time. And I know both of you have large inventories that you had back from pre-boom, when things were a lot cheaper. But, I guess, just kind of getting each one of your answers, if they're the same, if they're different. But do you think it's possible for someone to go full-time Pokemon now without having an inventory starting from scratch? And if so, what kind of, what kind of budget would they need to start out with? Would that look like do you need like as much budget as you need to make income a year? Like if you start out with 50 grand, do you think you can make 50 grand a year doing this X amount, just fill in the blank? But my main question is, do you think it's possible right now today to start in 2023 without the massive inventories that you guys have?
I think it would be, I do think it's possible. I think it would be, on the one hand, it would be a lot tougher. On the other hand, it would be a lot easier. Because obviously back in the day when we started, everything compared to today was dirt cheap. You could find mint WotC collections pretty regularly on eBay, Facebook, all that stuff. But on the flip side of that, your buyer pool was also so much smaller back then. Cards weren't worth nearly as much as they were today. So you were able to easily source the cards, but then the cards aren't worth nearly as much, and your buyer pool is also a lot smaller than it is today. Whereas today, collections are tougher to find. People are paying more and more for those collections. But your buyer pool, when you actually find those collections, is absolutely massive today, where normally you really don't have trouble flipping a collection for at least some type of profit. So I do think it is possible to get started today. On the flip side, though, I think it would be a little bit tougher than when I originally got back into it. How about you?
And what kind of budget? I mean, you think it's like a 1-to-1 like ratio? Like if you have 50 grand, you can make 50 grand. You know, like what do you think?
Oh yeah. So for the budget side, it all depends on what you want to make and what your bills are. If you're someone who's working right now and constantly in debt, probably not very feasible. If you're someone who really doesn't have too many bills to take care of, and you can kind of grind away the first couple of years working a lot more than what you're currently working at your 9-to-5 type job. If you want to make Pokemon your life, buying and selling Pokemon your life, I honestly think you could do it for like 60 to 75,000. I think we talked about this at one point, but I forget. But I honestly think you could realistically do that and just constantly grind away for the first couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, Nick touched on whether you live on 30K a year or whether you live on 300K a year. The answer is very different, obviously, right? I think reasonably, if somebody was willing to grind like bulk, I mean, I don't do it myself, but Nick has made videos where I think sometimes he's shown the actual dollar an hour value that he's come up with. And I know like Mile High Pokemon, Palasalon, he's done videos where he's talked about making $20-25 an hour, just buying bulk for like 1 cent a piece. I mean, if you had 50K, I mean, you could buy 100,000 cards, 100,000 bulk you could buy for $1,000. You could buy hundreds of thousands of bulk cards for only a few grand. It's a grind. It's a massive grind. But you start a TCG Player account, you start an eBay account. One great thing about what we do is it's like a very low barrier to entry, as far as you don't have to go brick and mortar. You don't have to have like a $8,000 a month lease to do it. If you want to just do it out of your house, if you want to do it out of your apartment, wherever you're at, the overhead can be as low as you want it to be. But there's a big difference between talking about running an LGS full time and needing to make 100,000 a year versus like you're happy where you're at and you can live on 3K a month. I think it's a very different. So if you're like a single guy who can live on 3-4 grand a month, I think it's fully feasible to do with 50 grand. But if you're trying to support a $10,000 a month lifestyle, and you're going to need a lot more, obviously, and it's going to be a lot more risky too when you're taking that much out of it. So it all depends on what your goals are, I guess, and what part of the market you plan to play in. I think one thing that like the bulk grind has, anyone can really do it, but a lot of people don't want to. So it has a bit of like a moat in that a lot of people just don't want to do it and won't ever do it. So if you're the guy who will put in the time and do it, I think you could make it work. It's just not like a super sexy thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. Like the more I see and like kind of dive into stuff a little more, I do see the opportunities it is still there. I mean, you definitely have to, be selective and grind and, pay attention to a lot of different things. I think it's harder, in my opinion. I think it's harder now than it was. I feel like 5 years ago, it was basically how much money do you have to spend at a time? Like, I mean, if you had unlimited capital, I feel like you could have just made unlimited amounts of money back in the day. It's how I felt. I mean, with the amount of like collections and lots that were always available seemingly. And I feel like, I mean, like I said, the opportunities are definitely still there, especially with the grading. But yeah, I agree with you guys.
Nick covered it too, though. Like the mint cards were there, but in a lot of ways, like it feels in hindsight, you kind of long for those days, right? Because the cards were so cheap, the boxes were so cheap. It was expensive though. Like you were paying all-time highs. Like the history of Pokemon from 2004 to 2014 was like a steady increase. And if you were buying collections during that time, you were likely paying at like the top of the market thus far. You had a tailwind. You didn't know what that exactly was going to look like. Hindsight is 2020. But like Nick said, the cheap buys were there, but the liquidity wasn't there. I mean, you throw up a booster box today. That guy you had on, I forget what his name was.
Brian?
No. The guy, he liquidated the position of like Crimson Invasion, like 40K in like a month or two. Steve. Yeah. Like that liquidity was not there 8 years ago. You could not get rid of 40K of a modern booster box in a month on eBay. And like the thing is, he did that and no one noticed. Like that was just sucked up into the vast market we have now. It didn't move the price. It just went. Like I recently talked on a couple live streams about my little experiment with Celebrations Charizard, number 4 classic collection. I sold 40 in a week and a half for 250, 220 to 260 bucks a pop. The market didn't even feel it.
What was that?
The market
graded?
Yeah, PSA 10. Yeah, sorry, PSA 10.
Okay. Yeah, it is amazing the amount of liquidity in the market these days.
Yeah, so we long for the prices, but like we don't long for the liquidity. The liquidity is massive, so it's a give and take. It's easier due to liquidity. It's harder due to price. Overall, it's probably about the same. I would say. I don't know.
Well, now that we have almost 100 people in here, I figure we'll throw a hard-hitting question out.
Oh boy,
here we go.
Now, me and Dan have a good relationship. He doesn't mind me asking him. So Dan, why do you constantly say you don't invest when you admit you put about 2 to 3 cases of Modern away each set? To me, that sounds an awful lot like investing. But I guess if you keep the mindset of it's going to move at some point in the future, you could say it's not. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, do you still not consider yourself at all a Modern sealed investor? Or are you starting to blur the lines a little? Where are you at these days?
Well, the 2 to 3 cases per set, that was Nick pre-recording that Nick said 2 to 3.
I
actually have like
1.2 though. I mean, I thought you said it.
Oh, years ago, I used to do 2 to 3. My intent today is more like 20, but the prices are so high. Like I used to do 2 to 3 pre-2020. I like in February of 2020, I likely had 2 cases of every set from Primal Clash onwards. I had a little bit of Phantom Forces, a little bit of Flashfire. But these days, if the market was like not as crazy as it is, I would love to have 20 cases of everything. Not for like 10 years from now, not for like my retirement, just for I want to buy, and I don't want to be selling for $2 a box profit, $5 a box profit. I know you talk a lot about the plateauing that tends to happen in box prices 2 to 3 years out. And sometimes it's 2 to 3 years out and sometimes it's 5 years out. But whatever the case may be, I like the idea of buying dozens of cases of product wholesale allocated at distributor pricing, and then not selling them immediately into the market, not doing the race to the bottom, razor thin margin. I like waiting, whether it's months or years. But like Evolving Skies, Brilliant Stars, I have 0 of each because the price went so high so fast.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to put words in your mouth of what Nick said. I thought I remember one of your videos from the beginning of the year, like around New Year's this year, of you saying you're going to try to put 3 of every case away. Is that not you?
It was probably 10 to 20. It used to be 2 to 3, and now it's like 10 to 20 is my desire. 10 to 20 is what I would love to do.
Okay.
But
so you're more just like a kind of like a longer term flip is less of it like an investment style.
Yeah, like I see it all as inventory, to be honest. I am a long ways from where I was 8 years ago, and I have a lot more capital. I mean, Pokemon has treated me very, very well. But I see a lot of the same things you talk about, a lot of the same things about like you buy the boxes in the 80 to 100 range. Now that we have the price increase, maybe the 90 to 110 range. I mean, I'm buying it more like wholesale cost. Used to be low 80s. Now it's like low mid 90s. But why sell at 110 3 to 6 months later when I can hold for 2 years and then sell at 120, 150, 200, whatever the number may be. But yeah, like I'm not... I think a lot of people
it goes up, right?
Yeah, not guaranteed by any means. Not guaranteed by any means. But
I almost had you. You almost said it.
Yeah, I am bullish. I am bullish on Ultra Modern Sealed at my cost basis with my capital, basically, with my liquidity, with my ability to hold it and weather storms. If I was buying it on credit for 120, 150, 400 a box, I'm not bullish on like Evolving Skies at 400. I'm not bullish on any Ultra Modern set like at its current pricing. I wouldn't say so, because historically speaking,
we need to come back to that point. Hold on, let's let Nick give his answer, because I do want to come back to that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's as close to it in.
We talked a little beforehand, but like, just like investing it all, like, do you have certain things that you do put aside, and they're, maybe they're listed, but they're listed way higher above market. They're not really for sale. You really see like a 3-5 year maybe plus window for something, or is everything kind of for sale for you?
Yeah, no, I don't like listing stuff on eBay for just like an absurd price. So I don't do that. Like I wouldn't do that with like my booster pack collection, theme decks, Ninetales, anything like that. Anything that's on eBay, I want to sell. And once it goes on eBay, it permanently leaves my collection. Which is kind of been a good thing, a good way to go about it. That way I'm not hesitant on whether I want to take this offer or wait for a higher offer or whatever. Once it's on eBay, it's inventory, and at that point, I want the money over the actual card. So yeah, that's that. And then as far as like collecting, investing goes, we were talking about it before, but booster packs, theme decks, no damage Ninetales, those are my top 3 favorite collections, investments, whatever. Those I have such an emotional attachment to. Absolutely love all of those. So for right now, those will not be for sale. Down the line, though, I do view that stuff as like a partial part of my retirement plan for the very long term. So I do view it as an investment to some sense. And then with modern product, similar to Dan, how he used to be, starting in Sword and Shield, I started keeping 2 cases of modern booster boxes. So every single set, keep 2 cases for myself, sell the rest, whether that be through singles or sealed product, whatever. And then with those other 2 cases, I don't really have like any set intentions on what I'm going to do with them. Right now, it's just hold them for as long as possible. Even like Evolving Skies, $400 a box. I still have 12 boxes. Don't want to sell those right now. So I do invest a little bit in sealed modern.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually on with Dan. I no longer have any of my Evolving Skies either. So it's, I mean,
you guys are gonna miss out.
And honestly, that's why I wanted to get. That's why I cut you off, Dan. I'm sorry about that, but I wanted that to be its own. I wanted that to be like its own subject, because I made a video about it. And now it's almost like getting, the farther we go, the more it's starting to look that way. Are we getting reprints? And if not, are all of these prices right now in Sword and Shield still a good price? And I know you said you're not bullish on any of it because of the prices, but like Evolving Skies, even at 400, like, yeah, 400 to 800 would be technically doubling. There's a lot of other boxes that can go to like from 140, 130 to like 260, 280, probably a lot easier. But if the silver border thing is truly like the change, and Pokemon isn't going to go back and print these other things except for releasing the rest of Crown Zenith, and we don't get reprints, I mean, are these going to be, I mean, these might all be good prices. I think Rudy made a video saying they're all going to be over at least $200 a box, which I kind of agree. Everything from like battle styles on, everything with the alt arts, there's a good chance it will all go to over $200 a box if there's no reprints. So like, if that's the case and no reprints come, I mean, are you bullish still at these prices, or still no?
No. One thing I never do, I never try to look back, and I never try to chase. So like I was allocated, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I was likely allocated and owned 150 booster boxes of Evolving Skies. And I sold some at 150, some at 180, 200, 250, 280. I think I sold out right at around or slightly under 300, if I remember correctly. So I missed a lot of the top end. But one thing I will never do, I will never chase. I try to work where I have good information. I'm not going to like spill all my plays or anything. But there are places right now, there are things that are positive EV. I know I can buy them, open them, grade them, make money. And some of those are pretty capital intensive. I mean, I'm making purchases on a weekly basis in the high 4-figure, low 5-figure range of things that I'm just buying, grading, selling into the market. And that's like, I know what they are raw, I know what they are sealed, and I know what they are graded. And I'm just working where I have good information. If I want to guess, if I want to like play with fire, trying to guess, it's a weird dynamic too, having sold 20-ish cases, 25 cases of Evolving Skies at 150 to 300. Like I was a seller at 150 to 300. So how could I ever be a buyer at 400? That's where I come from. It's like, that would be insane. In hindsight,
I can counter that. I mean, do you not ever buy mutual funds or stocks higher than when you got in the first time?
Very, 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 very different. Comparing productive assets to companies that have grown. Because when I buy, like, I was going to pick up my drink. I'm actually drinking a beer tonight. A lot of times I'm drinking Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, the first share of Coca-Cola I ever bought was likely through my works retirement fund, my 401k. I bought like an index fund that would have contained some Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola in 2011 was a fundamentally not a fundamentally different, but a much smaller company with much less sales revenue, with much less capital, equipment and buildings and all that. So when I buy Coca-Cola today at a higher price, I'm buying something bigger and better with higher dividends, with more like intrinsic value. I don't do that with cardboard. Once I'm done with a play, I don't like look back. I don't regret, oh man, it went up XYZ. It's like I buy it, I set some kind of a sell point, and then I sell and I move on. Like from my perspective, why chase Evolving Skies at 400 when I know I'm buying Paldea Evolved at 95? And that's like a $25,000 allocation probably between both my distributors, and I just don't want to chase.
Yeah, and Nick, I'm gonna get to you in 1 second, but like
you're good.
I guess like I always think about it as like, you know, I get from your perspective, it makes perfect sense. And anyone who's like running any type of business or any similar style to you, I agree, absolutely. But I guess more for like more of a casual like investor, someone who does just buy things, kind of puts them away, maybe has 30 minutes, an hour, maybe a couple hours on the weekend to spend like looking. I mean, do you think it's still a bad idea for them to even get in some of these sets at like the 130s, 140s?
Why not buy the next one?
Okay.
One question I would have, and I know there's a lot of them. I don't personally know any buyer of Evolving Skies at 400, but if there was that person, if I could have a Q&A with them, where were you? And maybe the answer was they bought at 120, they bought at 150, maybe they bought all the way up. But my main question for the Evolving Skies buyer at 400 is, why now and why not the past 2 years?
Well, I mean, so yeah, Evolving Skies, you're right. But, I was thinking more like maybe like a Lost Origin, like, kind of like with me, like when things come out the gate hot, I usually don't like to jump on because I don't have distribution. So when it kind of jumped out real quick and went to the 130s, it might have made sense. Now it's in the 170s. So that's why I was asking if like, just because it's not the absolute bare minimum, does it always make sense not to buy anything, when it's 20, 30% over the retail?
If you have, this is how I would answer it. Like, this is not me fundamentally. I'm just a different setup, a business and all that. But if I were an investor who had, say, X amount of money a month, whether that X was $10 a month or $100,000 a month, if I came into this market today with $100,000 a month to put in, why would I do it at 150 when I could do it moving ahead? Like, that's a lot of money. That's way more money than I have to sit and park in investments. Why not just do it starting today, moving ahead? Why not just do it only with wholesale? Like, not wholesale. Maybe not everyone can get access to wholesale. I would question strongly if you have capital in the 4-figure and higher range per month. I would ask you, why are you not doing this as a business? This is not financial advice, not tax advice, all that good stuff. But if you're moving 4 figures of capital a month into this stuff, I would talk to an accountant and I would talk about structuring a business where you're doing this without paying sales tax, where you're doing this because the IRS, how they determine what you are as a business versus a hobby is that profit motive. If your sole motive is profit, again, not tax advice, consult somebody. If your profit is to resell for profit, you are operating as a business and you should not be paying sales tax. The end user pays sales tax. If you are buying as I'm going to buy this to sell it to make money, the end consumer pays sales tax. Sorry. That's my understanding. Yeah, that's
right.
But again, like, to me, there is no set so good, there's no set so fundamentally amazing that I would pay a 50% premium or a 20% premium even. Like, why buy at 120? Why look back? Start today, whatever your budget is, pull it up into an account and buy everything as it comes out. Buy it at that low. Look at the history. Where do sets bottom out? Buy it on the second, third reprint waves. I never think it's worth paying like full MSRP if you're doing it with a profit motive.
All right.
I don't know though. I would much rather have like Chilling Reign battle styles than I would rather pay that extra, what is it, like 30, $40 to have one of those sets versus have Scarlet and Violet or Paldea Evolved when that set comes out.
What would you buy today?
Nick, do you have distribution, or does Dan hook you up, or how's that work?
No, I work. I have one of the same distributors that he has, and then I have a different one too.
So you get everything at distribution cost, but you would still consider possibly getting things over retail.
I guess if I didn't have the position that I had, where I was getting things at distro, in that world, and I was looking to invest some of my money in Pokemon, then I would at that point, yeah, because Scarlet and Violet, absolute garbage set. Paldea Evolved, that's about to come out. Your chase card is a Magikarp, another garbage set. People aren't going to be wanting to well, of course you're going to have people wanting to open these newest sets because they're the newest set, but I think for the first year of Scarlet and Violet, people are still going to want to open the end of Sword and Shield just because of how much better that era was compared to the beginning of Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
And just like one specific example, if I came in today and I did not have access to wholesale, one thing that I would be targeting that everyone is so down on that is actually available privately for cheaper than I can buy it wholesale, like the Charizard UPC. I actually watched quite a few of your videos, and it's kind of funny to me, like how you've made some videos kind of negative towards it. For me, it's like, I kind of stopped buying it. Let me look up how many I have. I forget, but it's a lot.
So why do you believe in it so heavy?
I have 180. Part of the reason that I would be buying it today, like if I came in as an investor with a fixed budget, I just want to get in as low as possible. It all depends on your outlets. It all depends on, do you have the ability to break stuff down? And I mean, grading promos, grading cards, selling packs individually. The fact that is so negative, the fact that is down so much, it makes people want it less when realistically you should want it like more, right? Price goes down. It's weird, the psychology behind price goes up. People want to buy high before it goes higher. Price goes down. People don't want to buy it because it's headed to zero. I don't know where, and I don't know when, and I don't know how, but I envision like a future world, a month or a year or 2 years. I think there will be some day that the Charizard Premium Collection just goes like, I don't want to put exact time frames and numbers, but like at some point it will just go up to like 150. And then people will be like, oh my God, I need it now. Like I never got it because like people don't buy it because it's low, and then they'll chase it because it's high. I'm telling you, like if you ever in your life want to own a Charizard UPC, buy it today, not as an investment, as a collector, whatever. But as an investor, like theoretically, you should want to build your position cheaper, right? As opposed to more expensive.
So what's your, so you have 180 of those, like, I mean, would you call that an investment?
I would call it product that's just taking longer time. No, like to me, when I buy into my 401k, when I buy into my IRAs, I am locking away money for decades. I'm going to live off the dividends. I have no intent to sell for decades. I'm talking decade timeframes. Charizard UPC, if 2 to 5 years from now, I can't sell that for a profit, I'll just break them down and move them. If I could break them down now today. I don't know what the EV is exactly on breaking it down and just selling the packs, but it's pretty close to being there. I'm selling the sealed pack of promos, the Charizard promos, for like 35, and then you've got 16 packs, and then you've got like the sleeves and the damage counters, all that other stuff. So to me, it's inventory.
Well, I'm going to challenge both of you guys a bit on this question. I mean, Nick a little less, because he kind of said that he does have stuff he does collect and isn't all for, selling. But so obviously all three of us went through the boom period. Okay. I sold basically everything I had at that point because the prices were so insane. Why, Dan, and Nick too, why did you guys not sell everything during that time when it was so obviously overblown and overvalued? If everything's for sale, like what better point would there be to sell everything?
I sold as much as I feasibly could. So you go first, Nick. You go first.
I hate these questions because it makes me regret not selling everything. I was away working that whole June through the end of November, so I didn't have access to eBay or anything like that. So I was completely in the dark outside of what I saw on Facebook. And then when I did get back home, I tried to sell a lot of my bigger ticket items. And I did sell all my boxes, which I was super happy about. But it just took me too long to relearn everything. I felt like an idiot when I first got back home because it was literally a whole new market. But I know it's easy to say now, but if I was full time during the boom, I would have sold a lot more than I did.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It makes sense.
For me, I was just trying to pull up something because I actually did a video to start the year. I called it like leveling up 10 years in the hobby. I've been back in the hobby almost 10 years now. Got getting back into it in 2014. But in 2020, I sold an all-time high. I sold more than I'd ever sold in dollar amount. But in 2018, I had a child. In 2020, I was busy with my career. I was busy with work. I was busy with my second child. I was busy with my second house. And so I was like insanely busy with life. And somehow I still managed to sell like a ton of stuff. Hindsight, I wish I was full-time. I wish I had the time to sell more. I literally sold all I feasibly could. I sent to PWCC. I sold as much as I could on my eBay. I sent some through different consignment houses, and I sold a lot. But you never know. Like a bubble is a crazy thing because you never know where the top is going to be exactly. And I was quick selling as fast as I could all my Pikachus when they were 300, and then they went to 500, 700, 1,000. And evolutions. I mean, I'm keeping one box. Oh, I think it's off screen right here, barely on screen.
I can see a little bit.
I sold by the case. I was selling evolutions at $1,200 for a case, and I was thrilled. And then I was selling it at I think the highest case I sold of evolutions was like $5,000. And I'm keeping one box like forever, just to remind me like how crazy this whole journey has been. But yeah, I did not intentionally like invest. I did not intentionally. There were certain things that like relative to everything's relative. I was much quicker to sell $1,000 EV than I was to sell a $50,000 trophy or something like that. There are definitely some things I hold tighter. If I can immediately replace it, if I can get it like super easy and quick, I'm more prone to sell that thing. If it's unlikely I'll ever be able to source another one, I'm more likely to hold that and sell it slower.
No, those are both honestly really good answers. Yeah, I mean that both those make complete sense. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I just go back and I remember like just seeing every week on the market, just seeing things hit new highs, and then it just got so astronomical that I honestly I still just I don't know how people were able to hold. Like I just have paper hands is what it comes down to. Like I just once things hit the crazy levels, I don't know how people held. I don't know how you guys did it. I'm just telling you. I mean, because I didn't even have like theme deck cases. I just had theme decks, and I had like blister packs and some boxes. I didn't, it's crazy to think about. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, things are starting to recover. I mean, I know vintage still isn't really recovered, but most all the moderns recovered. I mean, even going back to XY, Sun and Moon, like most everything's recovered to where I was selling it at. So, I mean, it's almost like the hold is still like long-term hold still looking like the move. But
well, like singles haven't. A lot of sealed is doing relatively fine, but like evolutions is down 80+%. A lot of the singles, a lot of the graded singles got demolished.
I did want to actually, that's what I was going to go into. So the single market has been out of control. I don't know how closely you look at like the XY Sun and Moon, but the singles are moving up very, very quickly right now. And not only that, I've been taking some time and I've been actually like diving into some of these. And I've been looking like all around, like everywhere I can find, you know, TCG Player, you know, Troll and Toe, wherever I can find a near mint copy. And then I've been searching through, this is time consuming, everyone, but I've been searching through every single near mint copy. Even if it doesn't say near mint, as long as it doesn't say LP or played or damaged in front of it, I'll bring up the pictures and I'll go through every single of a card and look at every single picture. And a lot of these XY cards, and especially some of the Sun and Moon promos, there's barely any near mint copies out there that are going to grade a 9 and a 10. And a lot of these cards have like 5 or 10 9s and like less than 10, less than 5 10s on the market at a single time. I mean, they're super scarce. Some of these boxes like Phantom Forces, Flashfire, you know, even XY base, like they're $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 plus boxes now. They're not getting open much more. All the pop reports for all those XY cards and some of the Sun and Moon era cards are in like the hundreds, not the thousands that we see now, but like the 1, 2, 3, 400s. And so I don't know what, I mean, I know your opinion's been a lot like mine, you know, slabs or bags, but I've always said you need to leave room to always change your stances over the years. Like I've changed over the years and I'm really starting to be pulled back and take a second look at a lot of these cards because it does look like the market's shifting. People are starting to see the value in a lot of these cards and the prices are showing it. So what is your opinion on some of these, I guess not super modern, but like modern cards like XY Sun, early Sun and Moon block, things like that? Do you guys see any opportunity in those?
The only like investing I'll do of single cards is celebrations. I went big into that with the single cards, but aside from that, it's got to be modern sealed product. Singles are only single cards and graded cards. The pops are only going to increase as people open more and more sealed product, where sealed product goes the opposite way. It's only going to decrease as people open it. So I've never been one to want to buy cards at market and just hold on to them. I would much rather take the sealed route. It seems to me anyway, that's the easier route to buy stuff, to sell stuff. You have a bigger buyer pool with that type of stuff, but there are definitely plays with single cards. The thing with that though is I would much rather buy them in large collections at 60-70% and just immediately sell them. Make that 20-30% after selling them. Just kind of rinse and repeat that cycle.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, I have a lot more capital than I had 8 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm looking at like one that I sold recently. I sold one that I owned, and I also sold one on behalf of a consigner. Gengar and Mimikyu GX from Team Up. I was there when it came out, and I was not holding. I was there a year ago when on TCG Player it was 77, and I was not holding. Today, it's 254 on TCG Player. If I was not a buyer a year ago at 25% the price, how and why would I be a buyer at 4x? One thing that always scares me in Pokemon, price goes up and people want it. It's like, where were you? Where were you at $150 Evolving Skies? Where were you at $80 Mimikyu and Gengar? Why chase?
I think scarcity is the reason. You know, like I think it takes time for scarcity to build in. Like when things are new, everyone's going through the grading mania. They're cracking the boxes. They're getting them out. But you know, for some of the like I said, some of the cars only have like a 300 pop or something. now the boxes, because the packs inside, they've risen to $200 for a collection box. No one's really opening it. The cards are starting to disappear from the market. And I guess people are starting to realize the scarcity, and they're thinking, oh, wow, this isn't as plentiful as I thought. I better get a copy before they're all gone, because I actually do want this in my collection. I think that might be part of the reason.
It just feels insane, because it's like a year ago when that was doing nothing, when that was fairly flat, people were buying the latest, greatest, newest alt arts. And a lot of those are down 50% from where they were. So it's like they were buying the thing, they went down 50%, and now they don't want it because it went down 50%, and they're buying the thing that 4x'd instead. It's like there are so many articles out there. I'm talking like in traditional investing, the S&P 500 on average returns 10% per year, but the active investor in the S&P 500 returns like 3% or something, because they buy high, they sell low. People want to buy at the tops of bubbles, people want to sell at the bottoms. It's scary. It's honestly scary and absurd. But like Nick said, I have so many opportunities, people coming to me with collections, my allocations from distributors, buying all different, buying raw singles. I know you said you go through the pictures and there's not a lot gradable out there, but I would much rather buy 100 raw Celebrations Charizards than buy so 30 graded or whatever.
Yeah, I get like the Sword and Shield. Like here, like one example is like the Generations Red and Blue collection. You know, the XY 121 through 24. Those super awesome artworks of Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, Pikachu. Like those are really starting to shoot up in price. Artwork's great. Those collection boxes now are like hundreds of dollars if you want to open them. And even those boxes are getting scarce. Like the cards are scarce, the boxes are getting scarce. Like, and this is one example, but like just certain promos and collection boxes, certain, chase cards like the Silver Dialga, some of the Flash Fire cards, even the Gengars from Phantom Forces, like the Double Crisis, Team Aqua's Team Aqua's Kyogre, Team Magma's Groudon. Like a lot of these cards, they're very scarce. The products to actually open them are very expensive and scarce as well. And I'm just wondering if, people didn't realize that at the time, because they thought, oh, Modern is so plentiful. But maybe a lot of people don't realize, well, all Modern wasn't really plentiful until like Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you feel that at all? Or do you just kind of stick, you don't really care? It's just Modern, make money, vintage collection. Right? I get it.
No, it does make sense. XY to Sword and Shield, there's definitely way more Sword and Shield printed than there was XY. And then it seems anyway, there's a lot more quality control issues with the XY promos and collection boxes and stuff like that. So it kind of does make sense to me that there's less 9s and 10s, or specifically 10s, for that type of stuff. But it's tough for me, because like, are these XY promos or whatever cards from XY, are those the cards people are going to remember? What cards are people going to remember in 5-10 years from now? For me, I was just getting into Modern with Sun and Moon, or Evolutions was my first Modern set through distribution. So the end of XY into Sun and Moon. I would open like 6 to 12 boxes through Sun and Moon. And for me anyway, there's not a whole lot of standout cards outside of like the tag teams. So are there cards in XY that people are going to remember in the long term, or is it going to be the alt arts and the tag teams and whatever else Pokemon comes out with in the future?
Yeah, sorry, I turned my camera off because I knew I had this in my office. It was behind my Quaxley box. It was right on the shelf the whole time.
Yeah, those were another thing. So I had all the Generations product back in the day. I had a big display. I think I even have a picture of it in my Instagram, maybe. But I thought I was like, I'll never see these prices again. I mean, I paid like $30 for the boxes. They shot up to like hundreds. I'm like, oh, this is the best play ever. Sold everything, and sure enough, they're all right back to where they were. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. So okay, Nick, so take everyone here through so would you say the majority of your business, like day-to-day income, is literally just selling the low-end singles, like the bulk type singles? Like I bulk as in like $5 or so and under?
Like dollar wise, I don't think that's the majority. I think the majority of like dollar wise sales come from graded cards, but quantity wise, 100%. Normally on an average day, I mail 30 PWE orders, which is anything from 99 cents up to $20. And then about 20 bubble mailers, which is anything $20 and above. So the majority of things that I'm shipping out are these low end cards, and that's how it's always been for me.
Gotcha. And you've been full time how long now?
I went full time November 2020, so almost 2.5 years.
That's when you got off the ship, right?
Yeah.
When was it that you would have gone back on the ship? Because that feels more appropriate for going full time, right?
So that would have been December, January, February, March of 21.
I think you covered it a little bit earlier, but he used to spend like 6 months on, 6 months off. So he used to be like, it was normal to get off the ship and go into like full-time Pokemon mode for like 6 months.
That is true.
So like when you, and this is more semantics than anything, but like when it feels more that you went full-time is when you like didn't get back on the ship, right?
Yeah.
That was when something changed.
Yeah. You just don't want me to say I've been full-time longer than you.
I just want it to be closer to where we went full-time. That was my goal.
So let's just play bearish and bullish. How are you guys feeling about the rest of 2023, 24, 25, like the next 2.5 years? I mean, I'm just like, that's the eternal optimist, but you just constantly hear just constant negative. I mean, if you turn on the news and you look and there's wars going on, and then everything's going to collapse. We're getting off, countries are getting off the dollar as a standard currency. We're trying to get rid of cash. The real estate, it's looking like a bubble again. Banks are failing. It seems like there's always negative news. But then I look at the stock market year to date. It's at its year to date highs. NASDAQ, I mean, it's like things are still going up. Most of the companies that I'm feeling, I'm getting an echo. Someone got something on.
I've got earbuds, so it's not me.
Huh. Okay. God, I'm getting an echo still.
I do hear an echo now. I heard it when I talk, so it's one of you guys.
Still getting an echo?
I don't hear it now.
No, that sounds better now.
All right, cool. No, but what I was getting at was, God, where were we at? I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about the S&P 500 and
yeah. So like, I feel like I constantly hear bad news, but then like real estate, it's like still you're seeing open houses with 50 and 100 people showing up. I mean, houses are constantly still going over asking. Cars are still just selling. I mean, I have friends that work in the car business. I mean, they're still having just great record months, and everywhere I look, everything just seems to be still just trucking along like nothing's wrong. And so it gets to the point where it's like, do I try to plan and just start trusting that these things are eventually going to fall apart? Or do I keep blocking it out, just trudging forward and not really worrying about the news out there and just look at what I see? Because what I see is everything is great. More money keeps getting spent on all this stuff. I mean, you're seeing like Weiss sets come out and they're getting spent tons of money. People are happy about Lorcana. You see Yu-Gi-Oh! Releasing anniversary sets. They're getting bought out. One Piece. It's like money's just plentiful right now. And I mean, I know it's people keep this bubble talk, but at some point, right, we have to stop saying it's a bubble. Like, I get bubbles can last a long time, but I mean, how far are we going to say that? 3, 4, 5, 6 years? Like, we can't just say it's a bubble forever. So, I mean, my position. I'm still bullish. I think we're going to, in the rest of this year into next year, I don't see anything stopping this train at this point. But what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, are you still feeling bearish? Or are you starting to change your outlook?
I never felt universally bearish, I would say. It's item by item. I mean, if you want to give me a certain item at a certain price, I would be able to tell you bullish, bearish, put it on a spectrum 1 to 10.
I guess like overall, like overall sales volume and money in and out of the hobby, I guess, each day by day, week by week, month by month?
I'm bullish on me. I'm bullish on me and my business.
Quote that, clip that, and quote that.
As far as like crazy things are happening in Japanese right now, am I bullish on buying Japanese $40 retail boxes for $200? No. Am I bullish on buying, like, I'm not bullish on buying stuff out of the gate that historically has been achievable for 30% under retail. I'm not bullish on buying it for double retail, quadruple, quintuple retail. That feels, unless you're buying it to try to pull the hit, and great, like the EV is not great though if you're doing that. But I think there's value out there. It's all relative. It's all relative. It all depends on your it all depends on your financial picture and your goals. Am I bullish on people blindly buying just anything that comes out across their recommended feed on eBay? Am I bullish on people just stocking away everything in their closet relative to like more traditional things where you get employer matches? And it's all relative, and it's all like context is needed. I can't just.
I'll throw something at you then. I'll throw a context at you. Let's just, I mean, this is obviously hypothetical. Hypothetical drop of a hat. Every single grading company now says they're 8 to 12 months out. Are you bullish enough to continue selling sending cards in that the market's going to still be just fine in 8 to 12 months?
That would be. I'm optimistic that they won't ever get back there. But honestly, when I saw the writing on the wall in 2020, when we were in like peak bubble for a lot of the WotC stuff, I sent over 10,000 cards. I blind sent stuff because I was that bullish on like the market being crazy. And that wasn't necessarily me being bullish on the market. That was me knowing that the market was a bit crazy. But as far as like, I guess what I can do best is just share my, like when I kind of joked about being bullish on me, I'm spending more than I've ever spent. I am buying more cardboard every month than I've ever bought in my life. I'm also selling more than I've ever sold at any point in my life. So that's why I kind of joke and say bullish on me. Like I think there's a lot of opportunities out there. Very few of them long-term holding. A lot of them arbitraging and flipping. For me, where I'm at.
Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yep.
Man?
I agree with Dan on that one. 2020 was the boom, but
you're bullish on you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm bullish on old school too. It's not just me. I'm bullish on Rusty. I'm bullish on James, Nick. I mean, there's a lot of people I'm bullish on.
Sales purchases have increased every single year for my own business, which is awesome to see. It's not seeming like there's going to be a major downtrend at any point soon. Hopefully not. So bullish on that. And then look at all the Collecticon events. They started off in 2021 at a very, very small hotel convention center. They did not sell out of tables their first event. They did 3 events that first year. They all went really, really well. Second year, they started to grow. Now they're in their third year. We just had Long Beach tables sell out in less than a day, which is absolutely insanity when you think about it. So the amount of interest in collectibles and Pokemon and all of the stuff really is absolutely mind-blowing when you actually go to these events and see people, interact with people in person and find out why they're buying such and such a card, why they're buying such and such a pack, and kind of put faces to the stuff that you're actually selling to versus online where it's just you shipping out an order to some random person. The people buying these cards at the Collecticon events are truly like passionate about these cards and want these cards for their collections and for their binders. It's not as much as like the stonky, I want this card because I want to invest in it. There's a lot of just like true passion towards Pokemon, which is awesome to see at these events.
Should we bring back a little? Go ahead.
I do just want to echo that. Like I am very bullish on just the broader hobby continuing ahead. Like individually, there's some prices that just feel like not sustainable, and I think they'll move. There's always ebbs and flows. Since I've been back in 2014, certain things get too hot, they come down, supply comes out when the price goes up. But very bullish on Collecticon, very bullish on just people being passionate about and loving the hobby. And I gotta say, for the chat, I see Ray out there. I did my Dallas Collecticon recap video that dropped today, and Ray was like not happy with how little I mentioned him. I'm very bullish on Ray. I wasn't right next to him with my table, so like I didn't interact with him a lot for the weekend. But Ray, I'm saying it not just in chat, but I'm saying it on voice too. I'm very bullish on Ray.
All right, so we have one bear. Do you guys ever watch the show The Office?
Yes.
Where he's sitting there and the one guy like tells all the stuff he does with his life, and he's like, okay, so we have one Sikh. Dan just gives this huge description. Okay, we got a bear. No, but I mean, I know this kind of goes against a lot what my feelings and my beliefs on everything, but Dan did tell me, and we talked a little bit. Nick didn't really tell me as much about what he sold, but about what is being sold at Collecticon. And you guys can go ahead and tell what sold the most. I mean, I see prices of Modern, and I know I've seen it in the chat. We can talk about the buyouts and manipulation, but I don't think it's all buyouts manipulation. I mean, I know like some things like that, that Latios tag team, and there's some other stuff, but there's a lot of Modern cards now that are selling in the thousands, like over $1,000 in PSA 10s. And if you go back to WotC, there's a lot of PSA 10s that don't sell this for as much. And so it gets you think, it's like, wow, so people are now willing to spend more on a 20-year newer card in the same grade. Now you can argue, yeah, it's more rare because those cards weren't as rare. They're more scarce because you can get into all those. But the fact is that people are voting with their wallets and they're willing to put that much money into Modern cards now. So now I know your guys' Collecticon sales tell a different story. So Dan, Nick, like what was kind of the breakdown of like the Collecticon, like from vintage to Modern sales?
I honestly, I did better with Modern than I did vintage stuff. It was funny. I had I had Modern packs, which didn't do very well. I think that was because we were so far back and everyone bought their packs up front. But I did very, very well with those in Orlando. But then the funny part is I had two cases right next to each other. One was completely full of like light play, near mint, WotC hollows, mainly Base Jungle Fossil, Team Rocket, but then even a few of the Gym, the Neo, the E-Reader, a decent selection, priced pretty well. And then the case next to that, I had a whole case full of alt arts. And everything from like the original XY alt arts with just the A, and then the tag team alt arts, all the way through till Silver Tempest. But I completely sold out of alt arts, and in that same time frame, this is day one of Collecticon, completely sold out of alt arts. In that same time frame, I might have sold like 5 WotC hollows. So Modern is definitely one of the things that people are after at Collecticons, and that's something that I'm going to continuously bring to Collecticons going forward, because it is very, very popular.
Now, Dan, you had a different scenario, right?
Well, I brought like I didn't total up the list price of every card I brought, but if I had to guess, I probably had 80% of my value was in like WotC hollows, mostly PSA 9 WotC hollows. And not surprisingly, as far as dollar amount, those tended to be a lot higher price too. As far as dollar amount sales, I mean, I sold, traded a PSA 9 Skyridge Crystal Charizard, Crystal Lugia. I sold a CGC 8 base first Charizard. I sold some really high-end WotC stuff. So my sales were disproportionately WotC, but my inventory was too. And one thing I want to say, I can't think of a specific, I should have pulled up my spreadsheet from the sales, but I can't think of a specific instance, but like there was a couple of months ago where I bought a collection of 45 PSA 10 Celebrations Charizards. I didn't grade them myself. I bought them graded for like 75 or 80% high, way too high.
I remember listings. I remember listings for Evolutions Charizards like that back in the day, and I never picked them up. But I remember like people had PSA 9 reverse holo and holo listings like that where they were selling like 20 or 30 in a lot like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm trying to look at one individual sale that was in the vicinity. I didn't have anything that sold for like right at 250-ish because that's what that went for. But like a PSA 10 Celebrations Charizard is 250. The PSA 10 rate is like 70 or 80%. You can buy them raw near mint on TCG Player, and a lot of those near mint ones are like mint to gem mint. That card is so replaceable. That card is so available, raw mint plus. And I'm selling like
I'm bearish on TCG Player.
I'm selling like PSA 9 first edition WotC holos. I sell the heavy packs for 700 or 500, and I'm selling the PSA 9 hits, the holos, for like 100, 150, 200. Like I'm still selling them. I'm not holding them. I'm not investing in them. But there's a clear issue there in my mind, relative pricing.
Do you buy TCG Player, either one of you?
I recently
do
started
not.
a lot more.
Have you had luck?
I haven't yet gotten all the returns, but like I don't know how. It's not like a big secret. I mean, you can look at the pop reports, you can look at like Pokedata, Pokemetrics, but
no, I'm just talking about just luck as in like getting tens. Like I don't have the greatest luck with TCG Player. I feel like the sellers do a very good job of sorting through and making like you get the OC ones, you get the ones with a couple whiteness. It's like it just seems like there's not a lot of tens, a lot of nines. Like if you're looking for a 9, you're probably going to get it search near mint because a lot of the store owners they want it to be nice enough where people aren't going to like argue the condition and send it back like 7 condition. So it's usually like 8 or 9, but like 10s I find hard to find even in the modern, like super modern stuff. But what do you see differently?
I'll have to see what my grades come back in hopefully a few weeks or a month or two. But I bought hundreds. Of ultra modern cards. I put like low 5 figures into TCG Player singles for the first time in a long time to do a bit of an experiment because the liquidity is unmatched and the margin is just absurd. Like if you buy
do another experiment for us, like next Collecticon, just like split the table down the middle and just have like 50% of all value and vintage and modern and just see which one sells better.
There we go.
I had one case vintage and I had one case modern, but like disproportionately my vintage was a lot more valuable. So it definitely outshined it just because of its value.
I mean, I'll be interested to hear about that. I'll reach out to you because yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just don't buy. Maybe it's like in the volume, just buying enough volume of cards. But man, I just feel like every time I'm like taking TCG Player just because it seems like a better price or I just never get that like 10 worthy card. I don't know.
I have the same hesitation. I can't get past the fact that there's no back pictures and people selling those mint cards for near mint pricing. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it is amazing they still haven't come out with a mint level yet. Right?
That would cause so many headaches.
Oh man. Do either of you guys have any topics you want to throw out there?
I didn't
Not particularly.
I didn't have anything specific.
Hey, anyone start leaving. Anyone who's got questions who wants to cover, go ahead and throw that in the chat. Pokevault's in the chat. What's up, man? Thanks for stopping by. I do want to give Dan actually a bit of a shout out. So for anyone who doesn't know, like when my channel was brand new, I mean, I didn't even have 1,000 subscribers. Like you do, I was reaching out to a bunch of different, YouTubers and seeing if they wanted to come on my channel or I could come on theirs and just trying to get exposure. And Dan was one of the only people to reach back out to me and actually come on my channel for a live. It wasn't even a live. It was just an interview. But And so I really do appreciate that. And I mean, I know Dan knows that, but like because after that, I started to get emails returned to me. Like then PK returned my email, and then I got on one of Pokenomics lives, and it kind of got the ball rolling for my channel to get some exposure. And so because Dan didn't have to do that, I was just starting out, didn't have a lot of videos, didn't have a lot of time in the hobby, didn't know anybody at all because I never went to live events. Still haven't. I need to. But no, I appreciate that, man. I just wanted to say that to you.
I still am at a point where I'm like, I'm pretty small. I'm a smaller YouTube channel than this. And I still answer like all my DMs, all my emails, especially now being full-time. I feel like I have to. At some point, hopefully, I outgrow to the extent where I can't answer everything. But yeah, as of now, it's like, I just love talking Pokemon. Like coming on tonight, I just love talking Pokemon with anyone. It's always a good time.
All right, peek that you. Nick's favorite question. At what amount of revenue would you consider hiring someone to help you?
It'd be a lot. No, that's a tough one right there, because I am very I can't think of one like area that I'm not like super OCD about. So if I did ever hire someone, it would be a very, very stressful first couple of weeks, month, whatever, getting that person to do things the way I want them done. Because that's like one of the big things for me. Everything has a certain way to get done.
Do either one of you know Z personally?
What was that?
I always wonder like how him and Cam's relationship is. I feel like Cam might not always meet Z's expectations.
He has more now. I mean, he has Brian. Yep. Brian had a face reveal on one of the live streams, I think, and then he has a remote lister now too. So he's expanding rapidly.
That's awesome. Good for him.
That's one thing I have considered is someone to list stuff for me. I think that would be the first step for me, is just getting someone remote who can work out of their own house, and I just send them scans and get stuff listed for me.
Hop on Fiverr.
I know it was for Nick, but me personally, employees are such a liability. There's so much red tape, so much stuff you have to go through. Why not just have James be your employee? Send to James, send to me, Buy It Now Consignments, send to PWCC Heritage Golden. Like there are so many services in the industry that you can use to scale, where you don't have to technically hire an employee, but you can have people work for you. There's a lot of that out there. I think you get all the benefits of an employee without all the added headache. So that's been my strategy personally.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Also, just with any business, you're always taking steps back when you hire an employee. Like you're growing the business overall, you're growing the revenue, but usually you're at least staying the same or lessening your take-home pay in order to pay that salary and grow. And so, you'll see businesses continue to grow year over year, but a lot of times they're just adding operating costs, and their salary either stays the same or even sometimes goes down a little bit. So, you definitely sacrifice to grow a business to a size to where you do eventually step out, and it's worth it in the end, but there are growing pains, and a lot of people don't like to go through those.
It all comes down to your goals, and it all comes down to, I need to shout it out now. The parable of the Mexican fisherman. I talk about it so many times on my channel. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but like there's this big investment banker guy who comes up to a guy fishing on the shores in Mexico, and he's just fishing for the day. And the guy's like, you caught a lot of fish. Like, why don't you scale this up? You can, like, what are you doing the rest of the weekend? The guy's like, oh, I'm just catching fish for my family so we can eat, so that we can have a little extra we can sell, so that we can pay our bills and all that. And by the end of it, it gets to like the investment banker. Why don't you hire employees? Why don't you what's it called? Why don't you franchise it so you can sell multiple businesses around the country? All these fishermen grow so that 20 years from now you can retire and you can fish all day, and then you can hang out with your family on the weekends and all that. And it's like all that growth for the sake of growth, just to do what the guy's already doing. The guy's already living the dream. The guy's already living that life. but the investment banker is trying to get him to grow for the sake of growth. And it's just like, at some point you need to define what your goals are in life and what is enough for you, what you're happy with. Like, what is happiness? What is your end game?
That's an amazing point, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I think people don't realize that enough. Like, a lot of people are just like chasing this retirement goal, and it's just like they don't really have anything planned like they really want to do in retirement. It's just, I just want to get there. That's what we're all we're just told to do our whole lives.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I think people should do more is like, don't try to get away from something. Try to like build the life you want to live in retirement. Like now, do what you can to build it now. A lot of people retire away from their jobs, and then they find in retirement, like they're not instantly happier. They don't know what to do with themselves. They have so much free time that they don't know what to do. Me quitting my job to do this full time was a big step towards like freedom and setting my own schedule and all that. And if I hire an employee, like you said, exactly, I go backwards in freedom because now I have someone I'm responsible for. And if I'm already like able to achieve my goals and get to where I need to get, savings goals and all that, and pay my bills, and like, why?
Yeah. And I never took this full time, but yeah, I mean, I had a lawn care landscaping company, and every employee I added, it lessened the labor load, but it compounded the stress. You had to constantly stress about them showing up each day, because at that point, you grew the business to a point where you had to have those people there to get all the work done each week. And if you didn't, I mean, you really couldn't get it done. You had to stress about them doing the jobs right, not damaging any customers or pissing any customers off. And it becomes a big headache. I mean, I know right where you're coming from. It's a life choice.
And I know some people in landscaping, like you really, when you're one landscaper with your own truck, with your own trailer, with your own mower, you do your own thing and you take on as many accounts as you can. But when you've got a fleet of 15 guys and 20 mowers and 10 trucks, and when you have a rainy week, 2 rainy weeks in a row, like it becomes so much more stressful. And then you got the guy who ran into somebody's car, and then you got like all the extra. I know landscapers. I know people. I know a lot of like small business owners, like restaurants, car dealerships, tractor dealerships, things like that. Landscapers. It gets hectic. The more and more you add on, for sure.
You just love talking about lawnmowers in every live.
I do.
Penthouse cards. All right. Do you guys post these on Apple Podcasts? No, man. Hey, do you guys post your guys' podcast on anywhere else besides YouTube?
That's my job, and I'm bad at it. That's my job. Nick does the timestamps, and Nick does the thumbnails and all that. With Dallas, I completely forgot about it. I actually wrote a note earlier before this question came up. I need to post the audio tomorrow. It used to be called Anchor, but now it's called Spotify for podcasters. I post it in one place, and I think it pushes it out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It pushes it out to like 5 different of the more popular podcast platforms.
I mean, do you keep up with like the analytics? Like, do you get views on those other platforms?
No,
not
really. I only do that for Pokeflipz. I don't do that for my own lives. Like I go live every week, and the amount of, it's not like a whole lot of time, but we get like a couple thousand views on Pokeflipz, and we get like 50 plays on Spotify. It's not much. Yeah.
Would be really nice for people who drive for a living. Also, what do you guys feel about the Sealed Celebrations Dark Sylveon, Dark Charizard boxes? Well, I mean, I can speak for Dan. He thinks you should invest long-term in them. Me?
If you bought them at wholesale, for sure. I probably have some left.
Let's see. Honestly, I was looking at those cards the other day. Like, they're really overprinted. I mean, I think you can still get 10s for pretty cheap. The boxes alone, I think there's better Celebrations products out there. I mean, I think cause I always talk about getting in those lunchbox, the collector's chests. I think obviously, the ultra premium collections, right? That's the throne I'm sitting on in the merch. Like, I think the UPCs are great just because that gold Charizard, first, it's got that artwork. It's got that gold medal. The UPC, it was just a limited product to begin with. Even the ATBs, I think, are probably better. Like, I'm more bullish on a lot of other Celebrations product before those. I mean, if it's something you have and you like, it's not like a terrible thing to be in or nothing like that. It's not like sell right away, but if I had to pick, it wouldn't be my first option for Celebrations. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of those Sylveon and Charizard boxes out there. We just recently saw them in Walmart, and they were on Pokemon Center. So they're still popping up even to this day. But me personally, I am very, very bullish on Celebrations. I think that's going to do very well long term. Once we stop seeing all these stupid Sylveon and Charizard boxes, because pack pricing was looking really good up until a few weeks ago. It was approaching like $8 a pack on eBay. Now it's down to like $6.50, $7.
Well, UPCs are highest they've ever been, basically. I mean, there's
UPCs. Oh, that's a completely different thing. But all like
I think
the
ETBs
lunchbox pins, the boxes, all that stuff. I think it's mainly the pack pricing plus the pricing of the promos and all that stuff. Where UPC just had such a short print run. I think I can't
remember 100%, but I think even ETBs are probably close to their all-time high too at this point, aren't they?
I couldn't
like
tell you.
80 in ETB, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how high they actually got before, but I know they're about 80.
I couldn't tell you. But yeah, no, I don't like the collection boxes because of all the waste. So if I had them, I would break them down and keep the individual parts. Shipping collection boxes, storing collection boxes, it just takes up way too much space.
Yeah, so for collection boxes, what I do, I keep them in the case. I keep the sealed case, and when I sell them by the sealed case. It's way easier to ship. As far as like value wise, it's a lot easier to kind of get your value, because if you're breaking these down and you're shipping, I think there's 6 in one of those cases, and you're shipping each one of those individually, you're eating up all your margin in shipping. It has to increase in value so much to make up for all the shipping and fees. I would keep them in the sealed case, sell them by the sealed case, and you can still do pretty well doing that. Dan, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I like Nick, I really love Celebrations. Just personally, I love the experience of the product opening it. So I'm not investing in it, but I'm long Celebrations in that I picked up a lot of product, most of it wholesale. But I did have, I forget, Nick, what were the packs going for on TCG Player? Nick and I both bought from one guy who had access to literally pallets of product. We were buying, I bought like 2K sealed Celebrations packs. And I think Nick bought even a little more than me.
Yeah, well, we when we originally bought them, they were like, I want to say they were like $5.50, $6 a pack on TCG Player.
And we paid like $4 or something. We paid like 25%,
$4.50, somewhere around there.
We paid at least a 25 to 30% discount below retail in bulk. And that's one of the things, like, I can't stress enough. There are so many opportunities in Pokemon to buy way more money than I have. Like, I have X amount of money I can spend a day, a week, a month, a year in Pokemon. I can exhaust all of that buying sub retail, sub market. So like, that is a big reason I don't buy stuff at retail price, at market price on eBay one by one. Like, it's just not something I do. I have enough allocations from my wholesale modern that it's a lot of money every set release, and I have enough collections that come to me, and I have enough opportunities like that multi-thousand pack of Celebrations. I didn't know that was coming, but the opportunity landed, and I bought. That was a high 4-figure purchase all at once.
Well, hey man, just being money, just to be a friend to you, you can just give me the rest of like the plays, like that you don't have the money for. Like, I'll just take it off your hand because you don't have an employee right now. Like, you don't really have the time. I got you covered. Just send them over.
One thing I always say on my channel is like, and this is me as a business. I know not everyone has the time. I know not everyone cares to do it, but like, don't go broke on good deals and then not have the money ready for the great deals. The ones, like, I have probably bought 5 or 6 once in a lifetime collections. Things that I would have said when I bought them, I will never buy a collection this good again, ever. I've done it at least 6 times. And I'm talking like decently 5-figure purchases that if I went broke buying $400 Evolving Skies booster boxes and I had to turn down like a $40K purchase, that would have been really bad for me.
Yeah. Risen Sparrow, some shots fired at Nick here. He's only asking Nostalgianomics and Catch 'em All collectible.
doesn't care about my opinion.
Old school. Just sit this one out, man. We'll take it from here. Fusion Strike ETB case for 400. Get it or forget it.
Forget it. It's in the rear view. It's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I've changed my whole view. I think if you go back on my channel, you can find like an old video, like right when I first started talking about how ETBs were a better investment than booster boxes. And they were. Like coming all through Sun and Moon, they usually were. Like I think overall they outperformed booster boxes. Nowadays, I've completely changed my direction. ETBs are now the most printed product, I feel like. I think it's because they're in all the retailers. I mean, it just seems like they're endless at this point. I see so much more potential in booster boxes now. I mean, I get the ETBs. That people like them because there's a lower price point. I just don't think they have the legs that the booster boxes do for the long term. Like, I'd rather, if I had $400 to spend, I'd rather buy 4 booster boxes than a case of ETBs. That's where I'm at with it. What do you guys think about the same?
For me, historically speaking, ETBs have always been available for under MSRP at some point in their lifespan. Maybe Evolving Skies is an exception. Maybe there's a couple exceptions throughout the years. But to me, it's like you're looking in the rear view when you should just be looking, in my opinion, at Paldea Evolved and future sets. If you have so much money that you like have more than you want to spend on Paldea Evolved and future sets, great, go back and buy that and then buy the new stuff too. But like if your budget is $400 a month, 400 every 4 months, whatever it is, I would sit on it for now and I would buy like the next set. Buy like cost of entry is massive. Get in low.
Pokevault. Question for the boys. I'm building a video arguing V-Star Universe God Packs as rare or more rare than pulling an EX era Gold Star. Thoughts? The V-Star Universe God Packs.
Isn't that
I don't know enough.
A case?
Man, this is we needed like a Japanese person, like someone into not a Japanese person, but someone who's like into Japanese product. Like I'm not good, like going to talk about Japanese product. I don't know enough about it, like how rare the God Packs are or anything like that. I mean, do you guys have any idea?
I'm pretty confident saying Gold Stars are 1 in 72 packs approximately. If you're talking about Pop 5 series packs, it's roughly 1 in 40. So if God Packs are less than 1 in 72 packs, they are rarer because a Gold Star EX Arrow was 1 in 2 boxes. I just don't know anything. I don't know where to begin with V-Star Universe, what the pulls are. I've opened a few boxes. That's it.
This kind of goes into, go ahead. Nick, go ahead.
I would say, like Dan said, if you're talking like pack for pack, like 1 out of 72 packs versus 1 out of whatever packs, I would say you could argue that they are rarer, depending on whether it's a case or not, whatever the percentage is. But then at the same time, there is so much more V-Star Universe printed than there is any EX era set. So I think overall, just because of the print numbers, Gold Stars are packs with Gold Stars are rarer than packs than the God Packs and V-Star Universe.
What do you think about? I gotta try to pump the XY again. What do you think about some of those XY cards being technically more rare than Gold Stars?
They don't have the same.
They have less 10s, less 9s. The ratio of 10 to 9 is better. I mean, it's like,
yeah, but nobody cares about. Nobody's talking about these cards. Everyone and their mother is talking about Gold Stars and Alt Arts and Shiny.
Right. Well, I get that, but you don't think it's because they've been pumped so hard, like through the boom, by all the large channels like Pratt and all of them?
I think that only goes so far. I think I thought Alt Arts were a prime example of that. But I don't think the hype behind alt arts could last however long it's lasted just because of YouTubers hyping it. I think there has to be some organic demand as well to keep that hype going.
Yeah.
Look, the only good one I can remember is look when James Z&G bought all of the Venusaur promo like folder things. Those things absolutely exploded in price for a very short amount of time, and then they came right back down because they exploded in price because he talked about them. He had a decent sized YouTube channel at the time. He made some really good points about the pricing of the folders versus the pricing of PSA 10s, but his video alone couldn't sustain the pricing. So it went up really quickly 13. And it came right back down.
Yeah, he's talking about
the
Black Star promo,
right?
but
yeah,
but the problem is those don't have they didn't have the scarcity aspect, and that's the reason they came down. Like the gold stars have the scarcity, so that's why they didn't come back down. You know what I'm saying?
They have the scarcity, but they also have the demand, and so will these XY cards have the demand? Maybe, but right now, how many people are talking about them? I don't know very many people talking about XY and looking into buying XY.
Well, on that point though, I would rather buy something people aren't talking about. Like I'm not anywhere near buying and investing in single cards, but if I were, it would be in places that people are not talking about. Like it would not be in Gengar and Mimikyu that just 4X that everyone is talking about. Everyone went from alt arts to the original OG Sun and Moon alt arts. Like, so if I were going anywhere, it would be somewhere that has not yet popped. But I'm just not doing that personally. A lot of people will make a lot of money doing that, but a lot of people will lose a lot of money doing that too.
Oh yeah, speculations where the most money's made and lost. Absolutely. Let's see. This was actually at Pokevault, but I've been wanting to ask. Do you guys think the new Pokemon 151 set will be affected by Celebrations? Will affect Celebrations prices? And then Pokevault said back to that, I think 151 is going to blow the roof off and drag everything up with it. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it'll have any negative effect on Celebrations. Yeah, if anything, it'll help. I mean, it's kind of like did Celebrations have a negative effect on Generations or Evolutions? No. I mean, I don't think a reprint or a new anniversary set or anything like a set like 151 is going to have anything but positive effects on the earlier ones. I mean, that'd be like saying base set 2 had a negative effect on base set, legendary collection had a negative set on base 2. I think they're all just, they build on each other is my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think it could only benefit Celebrations, Evolutions, legendary collection, base 2, all going all the way back, because people are going to open these new cards and then potentially want to go back and get the originals, or they'll just have a kind of like a better understanding of where these cards today originated from. So yes, sets like that can only benefit the overall market, I think.
Hold on. Mason, it's not worth it to grow. Work harder to pay for more employees that are supposed to make you more money. So I'm guessing supposed to be the key word.
Yeah, I mean, Mason was there fishing on the shore, catching his daily catch and having fun. And now he's got his second franchise opened. And it's maybe someday in the future, Cardinal Gaming, there'll be like one on every corner. Thousands of them across the country, but we'll see.
They'll be more prevalent than McDonald's.
I'm scrolling through the comments trying to find some questions for us to take. I see Radar's in here. Hey, what's up, Radar? Thanks for checking out the stream.
How's it going, John?
I don't know. I'm not seeing any good ones. Did you guys see any questions you wanted to take?
I've been bad at keeping up with chat.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Okay. It is. Here we go. Here's one. All right, Pikachu. For all of you, thoughts on the massive surge in pricing for Japanese Worlds cards? For Japanese Worlds cards, it seems that ever since 22 Worlds, they've skyrocketed.
He was told to.
Worlds cards always kind of do well. I mean, I think every Worlds card going back to black and white's always like 300 to 400 raw. And then when you get to the 8s, 9s, like it's even more. But I don't pay enough attention to know that there's certain Japanese World cards that are skyrocketing. Did you guys know this? I don't pay enough attention to know they were skyrocketing.
I think Retro told him to delete it, and I was on Retro's side.
now the world knows.
What are world going crazy, right? I mean,
the sealed packs where you get all the different languages. Those have been getting hot lately. Just seeing them like in the different Facebook groups. Starting to see more pop up. Starting to see people pay more and more for them. Like want to buy threads offering such and such a pricing on any year. So it does seem like right now those are very popular and people are buying those cards and paying a lot more than what they used to.
Is it just Japanese? Because I mean,
I don't know. I don't know the whole Japanese versus English. I couldn't tell you that far.
Because I keep a good amount of Worlds promos on my watch list, and they seem to constantly renew. I don't really see them sell very often, at least in English. So I don't know.
The Japanese ones are on fire right now, and I don't think it's fully sustainable. I think absurd things are happening. But one nice thing about the Worlds promos is that they were given out to competitors who went to the World Championships for each specific year. And year by year, we know how many competitors played in each year. One thing we don't know is sometimes like staff will get a special staff stamped promo, but they will also get some amount of sealed competitor packs. Some years staff got as many as like 5 competitor packs. I've heard, depending on the level of staff you were, you might have gotten 1, you might have gotten 5, 10, whatever it may be. But we're talking like thousands of cards, not hundreds of thousands or millions of cards. Like these things are significantly more limited than something like a set card, something like a Mudrian.
I think the real question is, do you buy the condition rarity of the card, or do you try to go for something more of like a staff or one of the numbered, the finalists and stuff? Do you go for more of the rarity, or do you go for more of the grade? I don't know.
When you talk about like champion stamp, you're talking about a card like finalists, semifinalists, out of 32 staff, or do you go for the just no stamp, just the actual card in like a 9 or a 10 because it's so hard to grade those? And I mean, some of them have 0 pop.
I don't like the whole stamp thing. I like staff stamps because that's where they have the most available of the staff stamp. They have the most available of the non-stamped version, but the easiest to find stamped version is the staff version. So those are the ones I like. Once you start getting into the top 32, 16, semifinalist, finalist, champion, pricing just becomes absolutely absurd at that point.
What's that valued at, Dan?
They sell for like, I think a champion stamp recently sold for 5,000 to 6,000. But this card is literally, so there are 2 games. There's the TCG in the video game, and there's Masters, Seniors, Juniors. So I think there's 12 awarded of the champion stamp per year. This is like a 2014. So this card, I could be wrong. It could be as much as 24, but I think it's 12. And there's always the debate around extra copies. But this card here is like literally one of 12 to 24 in the world. And it's a $5,000 card. There are like PSA 10 Japanese. I actually have one. Let me see.
So you're investing in that, huh?
No, it's listed.
I'm gonna get you one day.
This card though. So this card in 2016, every competitor got a sealed pack. And Retro's going to be mad at me in the chat because I'm giving out way too much information. But in 2016, there were probably several hundred. So this card is about 6K, and it's one of 12 to 24 in the world. This card is one of several hundred. There are several hundred in the world. And if you look up my cert number, if you look up the PSA 10 pop report, there are probably 100 of these in PSA 10, but there are hundreds more, like sealed or raw, waiting to be graded someday. This card is also like $6,000 approximately. To me, there's a massive discrepancy between which one should be valued more versus they're on par today. But this one is 2014. This one is a champion stamp English. This one is Japanese PSA 10. There's a bit of a bubble type thing forming. I don't know if we're at the highs. I don't know if we're going to go up from here, but a lot of the prices seem unsustainable. That said, a lot of the interest in those specific cards, those Japanese cards, are Chinese buyers with a lot of capital. Like when you talk about a card only having 1,000 copies, say there's a card that there are 1,000 copies in the world, and the PSA 10 is $1,000. That's only $1 million market cap. Some of the people buying these have hundreds of millions of dollars, and they could just buy them all if they wanted to. I don't know whether they will or not, but they could.
Well, I got it. So I got to push you a little bit here. So we talked about the reasons why both of you didn't sell, more during the boom. So if you're not investing and you say that it's had that big of a run up and it could be reaching its top, why are you holding those?
These ones?
Yeah.
These ones I'm holding because I'm going. These ones I'm holding because I'm going to FedEx tomorrow to ship them.
Okay, fair enough. That's all we need to hear. I like it.
These ones came back. I posted on my Instagram. These ones came back last Thursday maybe, and they're sold, and I'm shipping them like the next couple days once the wire hits.
So Cameron Taylor keeps asking a bunch of stuff in the chat about the XY I was talking about. My bad. I will guarantee a bet that in 5 years will be far more XY secrets graded, gold stars. There's so many buyers still still waiting to be graded. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of like the secret rares in XY. I mean, I was really just talking about like there's a select few that are really scarce, like the two I mentioned, like Team Aqua's Groudon, Team Magma's Groudon, Team Aqua's Tiger, Double Crisis. Because Double Crisis wasn't really, it was a special set released and really like there was like blisters and I didn't have PTs or anything like that. It was a really short set. And those two cards, they're just very hard to find in high grades at all. Like usually there's no English 10s in the market. There's right now I don't think there's any like English 9s in the market. The Tyler, one or two of the they're really scarce cards. The pops are like the 10s are maybe 10 or 14 available. Maybe like a little more 9s, but and then you got like the XY base cards will be sort of Blastoise, like maybe like a silver Dialga. I mean, I think there's certain cards in XY and some of the promos like that can outperform, maybe like get to the level of goals. That's what whenever I talk about. I'm not saying like these cards are going to be worth as much goals or as much as first edition makes. I'm saying like from the here and now, like 23, you want to spend 10 grand on a gold star or you want to put 10 grand on these cards? I would say that these cards are going to outperform, relative to percentage gain. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying they're going to out value the gold stars in terms of dollar amount. That was my whole take on it. Dan,
Alex, I can hear you decently, but your screen is frozen.
Yeah, you're a little bit robotic.
All right,
one thing I wanted to say that it was a meme a few weeks ago on my channel. I'm very bearish on Wi-Fi. I'm very bullish on hardwired Ethernet. The amount of people that stream on Wi-Fi wirelessly is too damn high, I will say.
Hey, I'm live on Wi-Fi. You don't see me with any issues.
Better.
Now I lost you. Oh,
Turn it off and turn it back on again.
Oh,
He's gonna come back to us. But to Cameron's point, after I've got my nice Ethernet versus Wi-Fi plug in there, Cameron says, I will guarantee a bet that in 5 years there will be far more XY secrets graded than gold stars. There are still so many binders still with those cards waiting to be graded. I have not kept up on the pop reports. I don't know how many more gold stars there are today than XY era secrets, but I am on Cameron's side here. I mean, gold stars, Nick, you probably remember, but gold stars several years ago went through their own bubble of sorts. I want to say it was around the 2016, 2015, 2016 timeframe.
Yep.
But they are more fleshed out because they've been valuable for longer. XY era cards are just gaining value, just getting to that point where some people are grading them. And generally speaking, XY era cards were printed in that Pokemon Go timeframe where the print runs are just significantly higher than a lot of that dead mid-era stuff. So, yeah, I'm on Cameron's side here. I think the pops will be higher. I don't know if he's talking the universal pops of all grades or just the PSA 10 pops only, but I'd be on board with saying either side. I'm not going to guarantee, I'm not going to bet $100,000, any crazy amount of money, but I would not be investing on XY era full arts and secret rares based solely on their low pop, thinking it can't go up, because it absolutely can and will. Print quality was really, really bad during those eras. One thing we have today that we didn't have then, out of the pack, 80%, 70%, over 50% of cards are PSA 10 quality out of pack. XY era, I was there. I pulled a lot of Silver Diagos. I pulled a lot of Breakthrough, Breakpoint secret rares, the Mewtwo from Breakthrough, the Gyarados from Breakpoint. Those cards are rough out of pack. Those cards are you're happy with a 9 out of pack, and a lot of times you end up with an 8.
Yeah.
Hopefully Alex will reboot a couple times. Hopefully he'll press that reset button on his router. Hopefully he'll get sorted out.
No, I agree with you on that one. But then it kind of gives me Diamond and Pearl vibes back in 2020, 2021. I was dead set on the pops of those cards dramatically increasing because of the boom and everyone having those cards in binders and sending them off to PSA for grading. But the pops on those cards really haven't increased all that much, which has been a surprising thing for me. But I think XY, at least with Diamond and Pearl, you did have that super, super low point in the hobby. Whereas XY, there was more, it was still on the upswing, but there was more interest in the hobby than back during then. So I do think there are a lot more of these cards out there that are just yet to be graded.
Retro says XY black and white gonna stay low on PSA 10 pop. I'll bet you a 6-pack of IPAs, Dan.
It doesn't sound like Retro is very confident there if he's only betting a 6-pack.
Yeah. I honestly don't know off the top of my head what the pops are. I think a lot of the gold stars though are still double-digit pops. I know Torchic is one of the lowest, and I want to say that's sub. Isn't that 30 or less or something?
I was gonna say 20. I'm not exactly sure.
There we go. I can see Alex.
You're back.
It's a Pokeflipz takeover.
I told you that's what it is. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. So what's been going on? Have we been just talking crap on me?
Retro said he successfully DDoSed the stream from Team Rocket headquarters.
Retro would do that to me.
Yeah, he's a key piece in the Pokeflipz takeover. While you were gone, we were just mad plugging all of our channels. We were spamming.
Well, that's
go check out our eBay. Go check out our channel. All that good stuff.
That's all right. There's no bad there. That's all fine and good.
No, we answered Cameron's thing, and we basically said a lot of what we heard you and your robotic voice saying. I think we're all kind of on the same page in the vicinity, at least.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely need to look into that hardwire, I think, at this point.
Ethernet cables are very, very cheap.
I'm getting blown up so hard in the chat right now.
Oh.
Hey, I got retro at least somewhat with me. XY black and white gonna stay low when PSA 10 pop. I'll bet you a 6-pack of IPA, Dan. Oh, it's funny. Oh God. I'm trying to find where I'm at. Like, I lost the whole spot in the whole chat and everything.
Yeah, one thing I said, like, low relative to today, relative to ultra modern, they will stay insanely low. Like, they are not going to go to the thousands overnight. They're not going to like, but same said for the gold stars. And I think the gold stars are more historic. They're more of like I mean, there's 27 of them, if I remember correctly. They're more of a confined release. They're more of like a specific, I guess XY era secrets would be pretty low in quantity as well. But then you've got to tie in the black and white era secrets. And then you've got some of the weird ones. Like, one thing I didn't like about XY era, me personally as a collector, I know a lot of the players really love them, but the Primal Clash dive ball gold bordered, like, I just don't care about the trainers. And the Roaring Skies had a couple different trainers as well.
Sun and Moon did the same thing with the full arts. I mean, even Black and White did that. Like, they had
the Ultra Ball and Plasma Freeze, I believe. Yeah. I'm more of like the Breakthrough and the Breakpoint, Mewtwo and Gyarados. And I mean, Black and White had the Pikachu and a lot of there were other Pokemon, the Meowth from, I forget which set that was exactly, but
yeah, that's kind of, I mean, I'm the same way. There's some I like, some I don't. From, same with Sun and Moon. I mean, hey, let's just all buy modern sealed and stop worrying about the cards. Right?
Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
All I want to hear one time is just the Dan to say, "Hey, I guarantee modern seal is going to go up."
I'm actually going to do a video at some point. Like, obviously, as of today, if you stand today and look back, every sealed product is up, barring like Boltund boxes or like Cyclizar boxes. Some like very, very, but give them a few years. Yeah, give those a few years. I bet those will go up too. Like, I'm bullish on wholesale modern going up over time. But like, one thing that discounts, and depending on your situation, depending on what opportunity cost, what other avenues you have. Like, I know people where I used to work. This is me. This is anecdotal. I know people that were shunning free employer match in their 401ks to invest in GameStop at the peak, to invest in Bitcoin at 60K. Like, literally where I used to, I'm going to make a video at some point. I just haven't yet. But where I used to work, you could put 1%. If you put 1% in the 401k, you would guaranteed get 100% return with a 1% match. So 1%, you put it, say you make 40K a year, you put in $400, it's $800 now, doubled money guaranteed. Not only that, but putting in 1% opened you up to profit sharing. The 10 years I was there, it averaged 4%. So if you put in $400 a year, it turned into $2,400 instantly. Guaranteed. You could put it in a money market fund earning $300. 25% of our company, disproportionately, the lower wage earners, were not in the 401k program.
That sounds like great financial advice too.
I will give financial advice. If you have a free tax sheltered 6% return, I'm comfortable saying this. Please take a guaranteed 6x tax sheltered. Please.
Yeah, I mean, and guys, like, anytime it's a match, like even a 50% match, it's free. Like, yeah, the market can go down, but it's like, even if you want to just cash your 401k out, it's just like you pay the penalty, you pay your taxes, you're still up. Like, you have to take those matches. You have to.
With my company, it was a 3-year vesting schedule. So I was there 10 years. Like, theoretically, I put in a lot more than 1%. So if you were at the higher end of input, it was a pretty poor matching program. But if you were like, I want to put in 1%, I just want to have my account open, I could have put in 1% for the 10 years I was there. And I'm going to include this all in my video. My return would have been even in the money market fund, my return was a 6x plus 3% per year, like guaranteed. You take the haircut, you pay the taxes on it, you take the 15% penalty for withdrawing before 55, and you would have smashed it out of the park, like a 5x, 4x, whatever it was. Crazy.
You know, I released that video about like not being diversified, which Dan loved. But Nick, where do you stand with all this? I mean, are you 100% in Pokemon? Do you diversify? What's your thoughts?
Not nearly like Dan. I got 401k that I put money into, mainly from when I was working on the ship. Now haven't been doing too much with that, but then a lot in Pokemon, and then I also do coins outside of Pokemon, so silver, and then collectible coins. But yeah, most of my money is in Pokemon coins, and then I would say the least amount is like 401k and stocks and all of that stuff.
Okay. Now I kind of feel bad. I think Flip asked this question earlier, wanted me to talk about One Piece earlier. But now he gave like $3. But so I don't think I'm just taking your question because you paid $3. I do remember that. I think I was gonna hit it before I got cut off. But yeah, he was talking about One Piece earlier, about like what we think it's gonna do, and you know, I think One Piece is just gonna beat down MetaZoo here coming up. No, I don't know. I'm not. I mean, look, I'm not like an expert on One Piece. I mean, I've explained the story before. I talked to guys at my local card shop. They were, pitching it to me. They were telling me how it like quadruple or 5x the amount of player base they get on any other card game. Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, basically everything else they sell. One Piece was like 5 times the amount of player base, and they were just telling me all about it. And so I just started buying a case of each set that comes out in English. So that's my extent of my exposure to One Piece. It's nothing crazy. I just thought it was something that might, because the IP is so big, because of the popularity, it might be something someday. But I'm not like going to sit here and like make any claims of like how great it's going to do in the future. I mean, do you guys have any opinions on One Piece?
I don't know anything about it.
I got allocated 2 cases of Paramount War, and I sold them for a little over $2,000 a case because I just don't know anything about it, and it was free money, so I took it. But one thing I can say, like, I can't say anything about One Piece specifically. I don't read it. I don't watch it. I know there's like an anime, and there's a series with like over 1,000 episodes or whatever behind it. Something's got to give at some point, in my opinion. 10 years from now, 5 years from now, I am bullish on the amount of dead TCGs and CCGs. I think that will go up substantially. Which ones will die? I have no idea. Obviously, I'm vested. I'm not invested in, but I am financially vested in MetaZoo succeeding. I'm a partner. I have a fair bit of inventory, fair bit of product. But
so you're invested in the product?
There are some things that I have that aren't listed, but that's actually one thing I wanted to touch on too. I saw Cameron said something in the chat about that. That's great on you, Nick, for at least you're honest about it. Old school. I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat that won't admit it. Me personally, if you look at my whole financial picture, like I do it at least quarterly. I used to do it monthly, but I'm doing it more quarterly now. If you look at the value of my house, the value of all my 401k, IRAs, all my crypto, all my assets all together, my net worth, the largest single portion of that is in my inventory, but all of it's listed. All of it's for sale. My annual turnover is like greater than 1. I'm selling more than my inventory value annually in Pokemon. So like that stuff's churning. I don't consider that. I mean, I do keep track of the value because I have to for tax purposes. But when I calculate my net worth, it's like it's inventory, and then it's my house, and then it's my investments. But when you compare the two, I have more money in cardboard than I do in traditional investments as well. But like for my age, for my situation, I mean, if you look at the average 401k balance by age and all those metrics and how many percent of people can't come up with $400 in the event of an emergency, that stuff's scary because I know those people. Like I work with those people. And as I said, 25% of my company, 1,000 employees, 250 of them did not take the free 6X match. Disproportionately, they were the lower wage workers, which is scary and sad to be honest.
Well, it also makes sense because they need the money.
Everyone can get by saving 1%. Everyone. Like financial advice, put in 1%, take a free 6X. Financial advice.
I knew we'd get some financial advice this stream.
Yes. I'm off the fence. I'm giving financial advice. If you have a 6X staring you in the face, take it.
I'm going for the Dan Gordy.
That's
I want to get one piece of investing advice, one piece of financial advice.
Oh boy!
I want to get one guarantee.
Well, for the bingo card, we got the one, right? We got the free space in the middle, and we got the financial advice. I'll give you tax advice too. Pay your taxes, but pay an accountant to make sure you can pay the smallest amount of taxes legally possible. So I'll give you that tax advice too. There's 2 checks in the bingo in the bingo card.
Oh, the card baron said One Piece will end up like Dragon Ball Super if it's lucky. What does that exactly mean? Is Dragon Ball Super like considered dead at this point? Like,
it's gone down. It's gone down a bunch. I bought a collection in the late fall that had like a lot of the big signed cards and a lot of the big. I graded a lot of PSA 10s of pretty decent cards, and I quick sold quite a few of them. But the ones that I didn't, I recently changed the price. Like I looked at the market today. Whenever I list a card, I look at low list and I look at last sold, and I just go somewhere between the two. I had to cut the prices on a lot of them by like 50% because they went down substantially. That's graded. As far as sealed and raw, and I don't know what the price of those did.
Now I could just be lucky, but just for fun, like me and my wife, like each new set that came out for a while, we would just open a box of it. I have never lost money in a Dragon Ball Super box at release. I could just be lucky, but I've always pulled at least enough cards to get my value back out of the box.
Grading them?
What's that?
Grading them and selling them, or just selling them raw? Oh wow!
Like, I mean, if you look at a lot of the sets raw when they come out, they have like most all the secret rares are like a cost of box or more, like $80, $100, $120, $200 for the cards. So you don't like to pull one card and it basically gets your value back. Then a lot of like the SPRs and things are worth, $10, $15. And this is that release. Like if you wait long, you go down. But if you kind of open a box for release week and you flip it right away, you can have all the fun of opening the box and a lot of times get most of your money back. Or, I mean, in my case, I've always gotten money back. So I don't know.
That's not a bad deal right there.
I like Dragon Ball Super. I mean, I don't know much about the gameplay or like the actual popularity of that, but it's a strong IP. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much of anything about either of them.
All right, Mr. Walrus, he's always got the best questions.
Oh boy.
How much money must I lose before this isn't an investment? I'm tired.
Well, I went my first I started paying taxes in 16, and my first 2 years were both in the red. So I would say you're still doing okay, Mr. Walrus.
Well, we don't want to get too far into that, but that's by design, right? Of course you didn't make any money.
I had to run to the bathroom quick, but I will just say on the whole Dragon Ball Super thing, and Nick can probably touch on this with Pokemon, but the last set that I opened quite a bit of right at release and sold singles was Celebrations. I remember day before release opening my Celebrations. I sold raw near mint Charizards for 200. I sold Umbreon Gold Stars for 150 to 200. A lot of cards will be very plus EV out of the gate because people are just like crazy overpaying for singles. So I don't know if you were that early with Dragon Ball Super to where that was just the case there. But like Nick, you were selling. What were you selling the Miriams for? And then what did they go to ultimately?
I sold mine at 100. They were like $200 during the pre-sales. But I sold mine for 100, and now they're like $75-$80. I think they're holding around 80.
But it's pretty typical for release pricing, pre-release pricing to be up here and then really tank.
To what degree of delusion do you think a large portion of people in chat that invest in Modern and don't plan to sell are? I'd say somewhere between like high level intelligence and genius, like maybe not quite genius level, but very high levels of intelligence, Mr. Walrus.
I just want to say, like, 156 people in chat. Who knows? It could be one of my old coworkers. I can think of specifically several of my old coworkers that were talking about Dogecoin seriously, that were buying Dogecoin at 40 cents, that were buying GameStop at 200, that were buying Bed Bath & Beyond, that were like, there are some amount of those that were not doing the 1% match and had Pokemon in their closet in the 2020 boom. I know that for sure. Like 158 people in chat. There's probably one.
Yeah, but then you could. I hate that. Like, I get what you're saying, but I hate that argument because it's like I look at myself, and if I wouldn't have played it so safe during 2016 to 2019, I'd have been a lot better financially off if I was throwing all my money into Pokemon. So it's like it goes both ways. It goes both ways, Dan. It does, man. Like if I wouldn't have been investing in 401k, wouldn't have been paying my house down, like putting extra payments on it, wouldn't have been paying if I wouldn't have been putting money anywhere else but throwing every dime I made into Pokemon, I'd be superior, way more better off than I am now. If I'd just like went all in on Pokemon back then.
I can say the same thing though about like Bitcoin. Like when Bitcoin first came on my radar, I remember it vividly. Bitcoin was $8 each, and I contemplated putting $50 into it. I was in college. I was in college or shortly out of college, and it was $8 a Bitcoin, and I contemplated putting $50 into it. It would have gotten me like 6 Bitcoins or so. I didn't. And then the price subsequently dropped to $2 a piece. I knew people mining it back then. I knew people mining it that were making a couple bucks here and there on the free college electricity because we were in a dorm. And so it had. When did Bitcoin come out?
I want to say it was like 2009.
2009. Yeah. So I'm talking like 2010, early 2011 timeframe because I graduated in 2011. So in hindsight, had I like scraped all my money together, had I talked to my parents and like gotten even more money together, I could be a millionaire or a billionaire by now. Had I just put it all into Bitcoin, that would not have been a wise decision. On a risk-adjusted basis, that would have been foolish to put in thousands of dollars at my age into Bitcoin. Hindsight, 2020, I would have made a ton of money. But being real about it though, say I put $5,000 into Bitcoin at $8 a piece, I would have had 600 something Bitcoin, 625 Bitcoin or so. I would have watched it go from $5K to $1,250 when it went to $2. And then had I held through that loss, which some amount of people would just sell, they would take the L, sell 80% loss, 75% loss. But then when it went to 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K, like likely before I became a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire, I would have sold many times. And that's a lot of that's what a lot of people don't like to admit, don't like to realize. They look at hindsight, price was this on this date, price is this today. There are so many points in the middle where you would have sold. And
so here's my question though, like why? I mean, because a lot of people are on your side on this. Because I've gotten more heat for this from everyone than anything else I've ever said, probably. Why are you so against being Pokemon or anything being compared to traditional investing?
It's a greater fool theory. For someone to make money, someone has to lose money. If you invest in the S&P 500, the economy can grow, the businesses can grow, investments can be made, technologies can be advanced. And when you invest in Evolution's booster box, I bought this wholesale for $80. For me to make money, someone has to buy it from me, and they could make money too. They could buy it. They could grade a Chansey, or there are like 2 PSA 10 Evolutions hollows that sell for like $2,000. It's crazy because how low pop they are. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, collectibles, non-productive assets are a zero-sum game. When I won big in 2020. You won big in 2020. A lot of people lost.
So, and then the argument against like gold and silver is just because they're they can be used and like they can still be used, or Pokemon can? Is that like the idea there? Because they're non-productive as well, right?
One thing I like, and I mean, precious metals and stuff coming in. I know Nick has some ties to like coins and bullion and stuff.
That's
like
why
that,
I brought it up so he can join in.
One thing I used to do historically, because I was present for the 2011, I believe it was 2011. I believe it was my graduating year, my first year at my new job. The silver boom. Silver ran to like $50 an ounce almost. And junk silver ran to like 35 times face value, 30 to 35 times face value, if I remember correctly. One thing I used to do before I did cards on eBay, I did coins. I would buy bulk lots of junk silver, basically like constitutional silver, depending on who you talk to, depending on how people like talk about it. Real money, hard money, right? Pre-1964, all the coins used to be like 90% silver. So yeah, I used to buy Mercury dimes, Walking Liberty half dollars, Morgan dollars, things like that at melt value. And you had a intrinsic value floor to some extent, and the floor could move, silver price would move, but I would buy for melt value, and then I would sell the collectible dates. I would go through, I would search the coins, and I would sell the more collectible dates at a premium. Whereas in cardboard, there's no floor, there's no fundamental intrinsic value, there's no utility. Gold, you can take it, you can melt it down, and you can make like, I worked at a company. We used gold by the ton. I mean, we used a lot of gold in a lot of our electronics and semiconductors and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot wealthier and smarter people than us that they do the same thing. It's just they'll put money into art or watches or like shoes now. Like there's a lot of unproductive stuff that people put large amounts of money into, though.
I think for the most part, though, most people are still sticking with stocks and precious metals.
Yeah,
you're starting to get people investing into like the pop culture stuff, collectibles and stuff like that. But it's still a long ways off before any of that becomes like mainstream, I guess.
I guess my biggest argument is like, when you have an income, no one questions how you made the money. It's like, oh, well, he made that, as a manager of this. Oh, he made that as a salesperson. Oh, he made that as an engineer. So he made that as a real estate agent. The money, no matter how you made the money, you made the money, right? It's like, and so no matter what you invest in, the returns are all equal. You can't say you can't compare it to real estate, or it's like, no matter what, you have an X amount, like kind of Dan says, if I have X amount of dollars, I'm going to flip, cardboard, but it's like, if you have X amount of dollars and you want to invest it, well, even after the boom, after everyone knew about it, it was out in the open. If you'd have just done what you're doing, 2-3 cases of every, Sword and Shield era product, you'd be better off than if you'd been putting money in the stock market without a 401k match. If you were just investing in funds or index funds.
That's a big caveat, though, because most people have some amount of employer match. And honestly, if you're meeting all your liabilities, if you're meeting all your bills and you're not carrying anything on 20% interest credit cards, I don't think it's harmful to have fun and invest in cardboard. Like if you're meeting all your liabilities, and for Walrus, I went red. Walrus wanted the red background, so I went red. I'll just say that.
I love to how you say it in the most condescending way. If you just want to have fun with this.
Well, no, I'm definitely by my anecdotes, I saw people whose families were hurt by how dumb they were with crypto, with individual stocks. I saw people hurt by the 2020 boom. I sold to people in the boom. I sold $1,000 Pikachus. And I was there 2 months later when the price went to 500, and the people messaged me and asked what I thought about it, asked if they should hold, asked if what I thought the prospects were. So I've probably seen too much. And in my past, both in person, in real life with some of my old coworkers, and then with some of the conversations I had. I didn't have a YouTube channel in 2020, but I did go on Jake Pokenomics channel. And we talked about how scary it all was. We talked about how insane it all was. John, Pokemon Radar, I went on his channel too. We talked about $1,000 EVs. and how unsustainable it seemed and this and that. And again, I won a lot in 2020 and it was a zero-sum game. Every dollar I won came from someone else. When I win in the S&P 500, a lot of that is just like continual growth. A lot of that's like expanding economy, more jobs being created. That's productive, real assets. And that's people buying things with utility. That's people buying like Lowe's. Lowe's is in the S&P 500, Home Depot, companies like that. That's people buying materials to build houses and shelter people. And like, there are a lot of like, people don't understand it. People don't realize it. When you equate cardboard, when you equate buying a booster box of something to the foundation of our economy, the 500 biggest companies in the world, those like every day you are touching, interacting, consuming with hundreds of those companies' products just to live your life.
But there have been ex-S&P companies go bankrupt.
Oh, for sure.
So it's not. And then also, like, if you look at like the tech space, like a lot of those valuations are based off like a lot of the companies don't, like, not a lot, but some of the companies, they don't make money. They have no profits. It's all spent like trying to grow the company. So you're really just betting on a vision the same way you're betting. Now you could say it's like, well, they have something it's gonna help humanity. It's gonna do all these, create jobs and do all this. But until then, it's kind of just an idea, right?
And I'm very transparent. I can go as deep down as you want to, but like one thing I love, if anyone wants to Google the dividend aristocrats, I do not solely invest in the dividend aristocrats, but there's a collection of like, I want to say it's 30 to 50 companies that for the past 30 plus years, through 2000, the dot-com bubble, through 2008, the housing crisis, through the Corona crash, 2020, through all these like massive downturns in the market, they have year over year increased their dividend. Dividends don't lie. Dividends are real money. So anyone unfamiliar with stocks, some amount of companies, largely tech, largely Apple, Tesla, things like that, they don't pay out their shareholders a dividend. They reinvest it into the business. It's a lot more tax efficient not getting a dividend, and some people really hate getting dividends. But me personally, businesses that increase their dividend year over year, they're selling real products to real people. They're growing year over year. The most attractive kinds of businesses to me. Like, dividends don't lie. You can only pay a dividend if you have the cash, if you have the money. And yeah, I just fundamentally believe in America. I believe in humanity. I believe in humanity advancing and continuing to grow. And yeah, that's why I invest in the S&P 500.
I mean, yeah, but Retro says Buffett's dumb. He doesn't even have a single UPC, probably. No, Dan's 100% right. Like, like the only downside, like dividend stocks are kind of great for like the steady growth, like the sure thing. The only like downside that like is ever mentioned about dividend stocks is they usually won't have the like growth or returns you'll see in the growth stocks. But it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, the reason dividend stocks don't grow is because they've already went through their growth cycle a lot of the time, and they kind of leveled off and they steady, and that's why they go to dividend, because it makes people want to hold the company even though they know it's not going to have those intense growth cycles like a Tesla or something like that.
And if I could ask, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but like I've already told people all my views, all my everything I say, I have more cardboard. I have more money in cardboard, today's market value, than I do in the S&P 500, than I do in real estate overall. It's the biggest part of my portfolio, my business inventory. And it makes me uncomfortable. Like, I'm not comfortable with that fact. And every year I'm maxing out all the tax advantage accounts I can. If I can ask you, feel free to not answer, like, where do you stand as far as like real estate versus traditional investments versus cardboard?
Exposed.
No, like you don't have to answer. You can say
I have the majority of my net worth in traditional investments in the stock market.
It's very interesting, given I'm seen as the bear, you're seen as the bull, yet I own more of my percent of net worth as cardboard than I do traditional investments, solely because I'm a business. I'm a business operating in the 7-figure territory, annual sales. My turnover is like as high as I can keep it. But at the end of the day, like, I need a lot of inventory to keep up with my sales number. But every year I am maxing out 401k, IRA, everything I can.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons is because when I did sell out of everything, that money did go into the stock market, and I haven't pulled it out to start. I mean, I've been putting a lot of my income I get now from my job into Pokemon. More income for my job into Pokemon now than I'm putting in the market now. But yeah, when I sold out and kind of went 95% of my collection sold, all that money, well, most of that money did. I mean, I paid off some debts and put money in the house and stuff. Most of the money went into the stock market, and that's where it still is today. Not in non-retirement accounts. So that's another reason. Like if I were to sell some of the positions, it'd be a taxable event. Whereas if you hold, it's not, because obviously I couldn't throw it all in retirement accounts. I can only max out 6,500 a year. It was only $6,000. It was only 5,500 years ago into Roth IRAs and IRAs. And so there's only so much I could put into that. So a lot of it is in just a regular brokerage account. So yeah. Like, I mean, hey, I'm upfront and honest about it. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. And me personally, like I treat it as my first bill. Like I'm very big into personal finance. Paying yourself first is something I fundamentally agree with. I don't see my 401k, my IRAs as like I'll do it if I can. Those are the top line item bills. Those get paid first. In 2020, I paid off my house. I paid off all my debts. But next in line is like eternally, I am maxing out every retirement account of every kind. And I personally don't like investing in non-tax advantage accounts. Like I could at any time, I could click a couple buttons and I could auction a lot of stuff. In hindsight, I should have in 2020. Hindsight, I should have auctioned more in 2020, taken the hit, paid the taxes, and put them all in brokerage accounts and the S&P 500. But I limited myself by what my investment limits were basically on my tax advantage accounts. And 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I might look back and regret, like, man, Pokemon was in a crazy bubble. I wish I sold it quicker, more aggressive. But I might also like, man, I'm glad I held on to certain things like these. Like yeah. I had some of these in 2020 and I'm glad I didn't sell them because these did not peak in 2020. They're peaking now, but maybe they're not peaking now. Maybe they're going to peak in 2 years at 5x from where they are today. I have no idea. A lot of it's guesswork.
Mm-hmm. Nick, what about you, man? Where are you standing on that?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with Dan, or I'd say even less than Dan. More so Pokemon coins than retirement accounts. I do my 6,000 a year. That's about it right now for me.
Yeah, I guess I'll add to that is part of my money too. I mean, like I trade as well. Like I trade in the stock market. You know, I don't just my retirement accounts are mostly invested, but like my brokerage account, I do a lot of trading. You know, like I'm not gonna like shout out specific stocks and stuff like that, but like, you know, I'll definitely move into positions. Sometimes it'll be for a month or 3 months, 6 months. Like, so I'll swing trade positions now to where, you know, I see opportunity in them, especially in this last year and a half. There's been a lot of opportunity. I mean, I've seen companies drop in half and then recover already in the tech sector. Mm-hmm. And there's tons of opportunity right now in the market whereas a couple 2-3 years ago, there wasn't as much opportunity. Things were at all-time highs. And so it made more sense to get into Pokemon, you know, product at or under retail. And so it's a constant flop. That's why like I just talk about the two interchangeably. Like I don't think people should stop investing in the market. I just think they should be interchangeable. I don't think there should be this big barrier to talk about it. It's like, hey, right now there's opportunity here. You know, if you find an opportunity in real estate, go there. If there's opportunity in Pokemon, like now's the time to be. I just think it should be interchangeable because it's all green, right? All the money's the same. It doesn't matter how it's made; it's all the same. And so I just think it should be interchangeable, I guess.
And one thing I'm big on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nick. You go
ahead. I think there's a bigger barrier to entry with Pokemon than stocks, silver, whatever. With that stuff, it's okay. What's the price at today? Okay, I can buy it for this. It could either go up or down, and I can sell it. With Pokemon, you gotta know a lot of knowledge. Obviously, to be successful in stocks, you have to know a lot of knowledge too. But I think a big part of it is that barrier to entry, where stocks, silver, all that type of stuff is very, very easy to get into. Pokemon is a lot more challenging than that.
one big pro to Pokemon is that when the Apple ticker says the price is X, you have to buy at X. One thing that Pokemon has, and Nick and I touched on it multiple times throughout the stream, we can buy at 70% of market all day long on various products. So one thing Pokemon has, and that's why it lends itself well to flipping. Like if you try to go and day trade in stocks, good luck, because you can only buy at the price and you can only sell at the price. In Pokemon, I can set my price and I can grade it. I can increase the price some ways. You can't grade stocks. You can't there's no avenues to increase your money that way. And then another thing is, one of the big things I don't like about the top investment videos and just saying that Pokemon is so good and S&P 500, blah, blah, blah. Opportunity cost is not like a universal thing. It's a person by person thing. If you are an individual who is shunning a 1% match on your 401k, your opportunity cost is fundamentally different than someone else who's already utilizing that, right? And say you're carrying $10K on your credit card. Say you have a maxed out credit card, $10K at 30%. That's $3,000 a year you're paying in interest. That's $250 a month you're paying in interest to carry a credit card balance. So if I'm talking about investing it in Silver Tempest at 140 or whatever it's at, the answer is very different. Whether you have all your bills paid off or whether you're shunning your 401k and you're carrying a maxed out credit card at 30%. People don't want all that nuance, but that nuance is the entire answer.
True. I'm just having fun reading the chat right now. I'm getting roasted by.
I'm not giving up on it.
People are saying some hilarious stuff, man. Oh, this is beautiful. See, this is why I wanted you guys to come on. I knew there'd just be some fun, fantastic.
I think it's. I did say it in the chat, but I feel like this is very good conversation. I feel like it's very good content. Be sure to like and subscribe while you're here.
Now if you follow Alex's channel for Pokemon investments.
There we go. Then it's easy.
Oh gosh, it's so bad.
Wait, you're not supposed to carry a balance on your credit card. Oh.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be so many parts of this podcast that I'm sure get clipped, and I'm sure I'll get eaten alive on YouTube after this one. So that'll be fun. Thanks, Dan.
I just Googled it very quickly, and it says over 1/3, over 35% of all U.S. adults carry credit card debt from month to month, up from 29% last year.
Wait, 29% last year and 21?
So it was 29% last year and 35% this year.
Oh,
of this group of debt carriers, 43% say they don't know the interest rates attached. So I don't know whether this YouTube live stream is a representative sample of the total population, but
I don't know. I have no clue what my credit card interest is. I've never paid interest.
You don't pay it. That's the thing, though. But if you paid it, you would know, right? If you paid it, you would pay attention to what you were paying. A lot of people don't, though. When the average, and I'm not trying to
Here's the thing. I really like Dave Ramsey, but I'm super about paying on a credit card. Just because of the buyer protection, if someone gets your credit card information, it doesn't come out of your account, it comes out of theirs. They got to pay the money. You don't have to wait for it. And yeah, your bank will cover you, but I've had people it happen to, and it takes months to get your money back. And what are you doing during those months when your whole bank account's drained? The other thing is, it's if you're going to pay it off anyway, yeah, you're not going to get rich and off your reward points, but why would you not take the 1.5-2% back on every purchase if you have the money, you're going to buy it, or you're going to have the money now, when people start getting in that mode where gambling, well, I should have that money by then, or, don't do that. If you have the cash and you could buy it with cash, but you're going to use your credit card instead, that's fine. I'm not about loading up a credit card that you can't actually pay for in hopes that by the time your zero interest, promotion runs out, you'll have the money then. Don't do that.
And it's not your fault at all. And it's not anyone's fault on YouTube. But some amount of people that heed your advice, some amount of people that click your affiliate link and buy those things, some amount of people are doing that on 30% interest credit cards. It's the sad reality. When like one thing I always stress is I'm buying it wholesale and I'm buying it sales tax free. If you're buying it and paying sales tax and you're buying it and you're putting on a 30% credit card, you are swimming upstream against so many currents. You have such a battle just to break even. Like occasionally you mentioned that in comments you get like beat up about shipping fees and this and that, interest fees and opportunity cost. Again, opportunity cost, a lot of people talk about it as if it's just some universal static thing. My opportunity cost is different than Nick's, is different than yours, is different than every viewer's, because it's all about what's your lowest hanging fruit. If you have a balance on a 30% credit card, your lowest hanging fruit is that, unless you have a 6x employer match that you're not utilizing. Like that is your lowest hanging fruit. So everyone's picture is different. There's no universal answers, but like people don't want that. That's not punchy. That's not like 10-minute YouTube video thing. That's like 2.5 hours into a live stream with red light background.
Hey, Retro's got a serious question, guys. It's serious. So if you're holding booster boxes back and not selling immediately into release, one, how do you choose what to hold? Two, how do you deal with a dud that goes down after release? I mean, I assume just the time length gets longer, but you guys can answer that.
Yeah, for me, it's just been 2 cases of every set, whether I like it or not. And for me, it's a small enough portion where I'm not too worried about it. But if that was something where I was going after certain sets and not going after other sets, it would be the ones that I enjoy opening. For me, Celebrations, Crown Zenith, and then Fusion Strike and Brilliant Stars are like my top 4 sets of opening. Really enjoyed opening every one of those sets. So if I was investing, those would be the sets that I would go after. But right now I just do 2 cases of everything that has booster boxes. And then dealing with a dud that just goes down after release. Just hold on to it longer. Keep the faith.
Stay the course.
Yeah, for me, like one very relevant point would be the Charizard UPC, which I mentioned earlier. If you look at it right now, I haven't looked at my distributor in a little while, but I had a distributor that was selling it to me for $84.50, limit 12 per week. I took my weekly limit for several weeks in a row, and then it got to the point where it was available on Facebook. It was available on different websites for like 75 to 80 shipped. I bought more through different means cheaper. And I got to a point where I'm like, I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at almost 200. I might, like, if the price is right, I'll take even more. I don't want to get a whole lot more. But one thing I did was I started breaking some down. I mean, I can sell the packs, as I said. Evolving Skies is like $8 a pack. I forget all the packs in there. But the sealed promo pack is like $35 on eBay. And so depending, like not all products can be broken down for higher EV, but the ones that can, you can do that. The ones that can't, you either sit on them longer or you take the short-term L to put the money into different spots. But again, it's all opportunity cost. If I've got 10K tied up in Battle Styles and I don't like the price it's at, I can either decide to sit on it, or if I'm turning down collection buys, if I'm turning down allocation wholesale for my distributor because of what I have in Battle Styles, absolutely I would sell it for a loss. Like one thing people say and get wrapped up in, why would anyone ever sell anything for a loss? That's one of the craziest, scariest things I've ever heard. Because it's like, if it means eating or paying my rent or anything like that, of course you'd sell. If it means like a brick and mortar store making payroll, of course they'll sell. If it means a brick and mortar store selling to get their Paldea Evolved allocation that they know they can sell at like, maybe not retail, but near retail, of course they'll sell at a loss. Like Nick and I had Mason on Cardinal Gaming a long time. I forget when it was, over a year ago, I think. We talked about his palette of Battle Styles, ETBs, that he had like 400 of them or 300 of them. And I think he sold a lot of them at break even, slight loss, somewhere in that vicinity, because like at some point you have to, right, to just pay your bills and pursue other opportunities.
Even if you don't have to, it can make financial sense. Like, everyone gets stuck on like the losing money because it's painful, but it's like at some point you have to like reevaluate and say, okay, well, this is what it's worth now. Like, forget what it should be worth or what you got it at. This is what it's worth now. Where can this money be best spent? Is it still here? Do I still see this recovering? Or is it better spent here, even after eating the fees and shipping? Would that amount of money I have left over still do better here? And you have to kind of play with those numbers. Because like Dan said, if you're out of capital, well, I mean, you can probably do a few flips or whatever you need to do with that money to make up for all that profit instead of just holding those. Now, sometimes you're going to be wrong. I mean, that's why it's a whole game. You're not always going to hit it right. You're never going to hit the lows and highs, but there's always reasons to sell it. I mean, not always, but there's definitely reasons to sell at a loss if it's not something you have a long-term mindset. Now, don't take it too far and, have a long-term mindset and say, okay, I'm holding this long-term. I don't need money for bills. I'm good. I'm taken care of. I want to invest in this. And then, get all freaked out and emotional when you see it, a reprint come and it drops and then you freak out and sell it. Don't do that either, but there's nuance there, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. The worst thing you can do is be like bullheaded and hang on to a loss, compounding it. And if you tie up capital to where you can't make like easy plays, if you can't buy a collection at 50-60% value and then flip it because you've got money tied up in Battle Styles ETBs, that just made your loss that much worse.
Peak That Shoes, he's sending in his job application right now. would you sacrifice 10% of your net if you never had to do listings again for yourself?
Absolutely not. Open. I don't mind listing that much.
Listings aren't that bad.
Oh.
So is there a percent? Are we 5%, 8%? Where are we at?
Like 2.5.
I don't know, Peak That Shoe. How much you need to live on, man?
Yeah, listing's not that bad.
All right, Pokeball. Is it investing if you never actually sell anything, or are we just all collectors hoarding at this point?
That is the big thing. If you never sell, you're a collector / hoarder.
Take it to the grave.
My first few years in the hobby, like I was way more of a hoarder than a business or an investor or anything. I bought big lots and broke them down because I wanted the most cost efficient way to get what I wanted to. And then like realizing how much money I could make doing it was just an accident. It happened on accident, basically, because I just wanted what I wanted and I wanted it as cheap as possible. I didn't want to spend out of like my living budget and all that.
That's one thing that does scare me is the number of people who say they're investing in Pokemon yet have never sold anything on eBay or Facebook or any of these platforms. If you're going to be collecting, investing, doing whatever in Pokemon, you should 100% know how to sell cards.
No, you shouldn't. You should send it to Z&G Emporium.
And one thing I stressed earlier, I think a lot of people fear taxes way too much. A lot of people fear taxes like some big boogeyman that is just going to steal everything. If you hire an accountant and talk to an accountant, if your sole motive is to make money, legally speaking, IRS speaking, like you are operating as a business, and there are many advantages to operating as a business, like including wholesale access, including not paying sales taxes. Like again, consult with a professional, local to you, all that good stuff. But you are hurting yourself if you are just doing this like by yourself without consulting anybody and you're trying to make money.
So for the record, we have a financial advice and a tax advice. All we need is a guarantee for the Gordie Howe hat trick. That's all we need. Z&G, how did Nick get a PSA 6 grading a modern booster pack? And should we revoke his PSA membership because of it?
Yes.
That hurts. Opened a fresh Evolutions booster box and I got a whole bunch of PSA 6s and 7s.
You're insane. I'm just gonna say that now. You're insane. Like, you opened a sealed Evolutions box when there are so many Evolutions packs out there, raw, available, like mint. Did you pre-grade any, or you sent all 36?
I just full set. You and James over there. Oh, guaranteed money. You're never gonna lose.
That's insane. I did not say that. Clip it. Somebody find the clip. There's no way I said that. There's no way. That's insane.
Question for the handsome one: at what point is it better to sell raw than get a card graded, even if it's a 10? This is actually a super good question. Like, and you can go both ways with it. Like, especially if you're, I mean, Dan would never do this, but if you're a collector of like 9s or 10s, like if these cards are going for $20, $25, why not buy the plastic? Why, I mean, unless you're hoping for PSA to get down to 10 and you're going to buy it raw for a couple dollars, like at some point cards get low enough to just buy in the plastic if you want them in your collection. And then this is kind of the opposite side of it. I mean, if it's going to, I don't know. If the card is going for, let's just say $20 and a 10 is only going for $30 or $40, but with the time you're going to spend, the shipping, the grading costs, I mean, the higher value of the sale, so you get charged more fees, you're almost better to sell it raw at that point. What do you guys think about that?
Pokey Slam just said it in chat, but I was going to say, so Alex is declaring himself the handsome one. The last time I sold a card raw, like right out of the gate, was a Celebrations Charizard. It did not look like a 10. It looked like a 9. And I sold it for $200 and something. So like, you just got to look at the numbers. You got to look at what the numbers are. And I was selling raw for just like bird in the hand, make crazy money out of the gate. I could have risked it and I could have graded it. It probably would have gotten a 9. But yeah, it's all about like what's it selling for raw, what's it selling for graded. You have to be a little bit forward looking when you're grading, because like even now the PSA turnaround is 2 to 3 months. So you need to be a little bit forward looking with the PSA graded prices. You need to allocate like, well, where's it going to go in the meantime?
Yeah. What do you guys? I mean. You know, Dan, you talked about you just been buying a lot of modern near mint TCG Player and sending it in. I mean, are you going for just like the top rarities, like the alt arts? I mean, because I mean, a lot of those, depending on the population, depending on how many come back, those 9s could.
You got a 10.
Losses.
You got a 10. Yeah. Yep.
You're gonna end up on one of those ZG videos, and who's buying these slabs?
You sell the 9 for break even or a slight loss, and then you make the money on the 10s.
I gotcha. I mean, Nick, are you taking that similar route with the grading? Are you just really focused on just the quantity?
For grading, I do need to get more into grading modern stuff. But yeah, like with like the WotC stuff and the vintage stuff, I have a bunch of shadowless commons, uncommons, first edition jungle through Neo Destiny. Those cards in 10s, a lot of those are $20-$30. So do I want to sell those now for a couple bucks a piece, or keep holding on to them until grading goes down a little bit further? And instead of I could probably sell those cards now for $4 to $4 a piece, just as near mint. Whereas after I grade them, maybe I'll get it'll still be sub 10, but instead of 2 to 4, it'll be 4 to 8 or whatever.
Or do you group them together and sell like, you know, common, uncommon, complete sets? Or you ever try to do that?
Yeah. Yep. For me, I would rather continue to hold on to those cards and wait for grading to open up. But that's just me, because I've had those cards for so long at this point. I don't want to just kind of fire sale them out there. Yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
Do you guys think pops will ever become part of the casual collector lingo? I picture kids roasting each other's 10,000 pop 10s. What is the Charizard, the Sword and Shield 50? I think that's in the tens of thousands now.
Oh, it's like 40 or 50,000, I think.
Yep.
One thing that scares me is when people say like all they care about is demand. Demand's the only thing that matters. Supply still matters. Like anything can be overprinted to death. One thing, like the intrinsic value, touching on something we talked about earlier, the intrinsic value of all this stuff is 0. Evolving Skies, there is a number of Evolving Skies boxes that could be printed and that could be distributed through distributors and Walmart, like, well, not Walmart because booster boxes, but there's an amount of Evolving Skies booster boxes that could be printed that would take it to a $70 box, a $50 box. I don't think Pokemon is dumb enough to do it. Pokemon is actually amazing with how they have navigated this whole boom thing. But absolutely, supply matters, and I am very bearish long term. Like we're talking about me being a bear when I have probably one of the highest like portions of my net worth in the cardboard as far as like just inventory goes and all that. But pops do matter. Supply does matter. Like 10 years from now, I think a lot of these 5-figure pop cards will age very poorly relative to XY era secret rares, mid era gold stars. Like even vintage, like vintage was massively printed. Base set unlimited, massively printed. But still, compare like PSA 10 base unlimited Charizard to any card today. Compared to Moonbreon, any card like that.
Actually, that brings us into Pokevol's question, so keep going.
I would say under. Well, one year, probably over. Moonbreon is probably going to be the exception to prove the rule.
Yeah, because Charizard's got like 3 times the population.
But like, I think Moonbreon could live as the exception, and I think Moonbreon could be stupid high for stupid long. But
you mean reasonably priced for?
Yeah, no, it's. I have one. I actually have. It's funny. A lot of people are busting my balls in chat way earlier. A lot of people were busting my balls because I have one. I did not put it out at Dallas. It is not listed on eBay. So I have one in inventory that I'm currently like holding. How long I'll hold it? I might honestly just hold it forever. Just like this Evolutions booster box.
That's a good investment.
Yeah.
Oh, he said yeah. He said yeah.
It's a good instructor. Like given the price of this, I should have sold it when it was 1,000. I should have sold it. What is it today? 700?
Yeah.
I sold it. I sold the entire way. I started selling them around 700s. I sold a couple at like 950, 1,000, and then by the time I was done selling them, they were back in the 700s.
So did I, and I had hundreds though. I had dozens of cases. I want to keep one. Like I almost want to die with this. I want to have it forever. I want to never forget. Like, I think this is more valuable to me, more valuable than the $700 I can get selling it. I think it's more valuable to have it. And like, I'm not even joking. I'm not memeing to look at it and just keep in context how crazy everything is.
Yeah,
I think it's more valuable to me.
That wasn't even like the craziest thing though.
It was crazy.
I think it was one of the first big things that I remember from selling.
I feel like base set went up more than that though.
Yeah, but it was
my base set box. I paid
$2K
for it, and it went to 30.
Evolutions was printed like as much though as base set unlimited, and it doesn't have.
Point is, like, it went from 80 to 1,000. Like the base set, I paid $2K. It went to 30. Like that's even more of an like. I think there were multiple things that like were crazier than Evolutions. No,
Evolutions was and is insane in my opinion. I mean, I think base set unlimited booster boxes. Like I'm not investing. I'm buying. I'm ripping. I'm selling heavies. I'm grading lights. I'm not investing in base set booster boxes at 14K. But if I had to hold base set unlimited at 14K or Evolutions at 700, personally, I'm holding base set unlimited at 14K. Personally. Could be wrong, but I'm not holding either. To be clear, I'm not holding either. But if I had to hold
what's
one,
your Evolutions box doing there then?
Well, I guess I'm holding one.
Oh my goodness!
No, I gotta take. I think I still gotta take Evolutions.
I don't like either.
I think a lot of people like disregard how like special Evolutions was. I mean, it's got a special, like the way it has a special spot for you in terms of the invest, like the whole like the mania. I think a lot of people I opened more Evolutions product than any other set I've ever opened in Pokemon.
It has a special spot for me because it paid off my house. To be honest.
Is there any collector left in you, Dan? Like if you were collecting, what would like what would a prize collection be to you?
I have them right in front of me. They're my mascots. They go to every Collecticon with me.
So a MetaZoo card is one of the prize collection pieces out of everything you could buy, huh?
The only cards. Well, I'm holding Moonbryon for the memes. I'm holding Evolutions booster box for the memes. But like
number 3 Pika.
That's not listed, but it will be before too long.
Pokeball, I'll buy Evolutions box right now for 800K. Everything is for sale, Dan.
Diamond hands.
Everything
Diamond
is
hands.
for sale.
Someone clip it and someone edit diamonds on here. Diamond hands. This box.
Here, point to that again. I'm going to clip and put investing in front of it.
Diamond hands right here. Diamond hands. That one box. I papered hands the other 200 of them. Don't mind those.
Dan is an investor and Dan is a flipper full circle.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, we've broken some barriers here tonight. This is good. Everything's crumbling.
Oh man.
We're going on almost 3 hours. Do you guys, is there anyone who got any last second questions? Do either one of you have anything you guys wanted to throw out there before we ended tonight?
No, I think I'm good. Thanks
a
for
good
having
chat.
us on.
Yeah,
you
thank
appreciate
you very
that.
much for having us on.
I think it was a great time. I think it was like an awesome stream.
It's always fun talking Pokemon. I always enjoy that.
Thanks everyone for showing up live. I mean, I think we were like in the 150s or 60s a lot of the time. So everyone who did, show up, really appreciate coming and watching us talk about the ridiculousness of this. I'm trying to wait for any last minute questions to come through. If not, we can go ahead and end it. Guys, so everyone I'm sure knows this, but anyone who doesn't, anyone watching this after the fact, and that's still here this long, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Old School Pokemon, both of their channels are listed in the description as well as their podcasts they have together. Sometimes they have guests on, sometimes it's just them two, just talking the market, talking flips. All three of those channels are listed below. Make sure to show them some love. Subscribe. Old School will release content one day, so it's kind of like that surprise. And otherwise, Dan and Pokeflipz, they post regularly, so never too much content. Alex, when will you start training again and go fight Leonhardt and give a real show? I would. When I saw that, I was like, man, I so wish I could get to some sort of level here on YouTube where to get invited to one of like the undercards on one of those creator streams. I would love to do a boxing match on one of those cards. That'd be so fun. I was a little jealous seeing Leonhardt get the chance. All right, guys, we're going to call it there. Thanks, everyone. Catch us all on our respective channels. We're out.
Have a good one. Thanks, chat.